Chosen one, I need you to stop everything you are doing right now. Whatever you came here carrying, whatever is sitting on your mind, whatever conversation is still replaying from earlier today, I need you to set it down. Because what God is about to release through this message does not have room for anything else. And I do not say that to be dramatic. I say it because what I am carrying right now, the weight of it, the specificity of it, the way the Holy Spirit has been pressing it into my chest since I woke up this morning, has me understanding that this word was not made for everyone. It was made for you. Let me tell you what happened. 3 days before I recorded this, I was in prayer, not praying for a word to share with anyone. My own time with God, my own conversation with Him, when He interrupted what I was saying and spoke something I had never heard Him say before. He said, "There is someone I have been watching for a long time." Not years, longer. Before they were born, I marked them. I placed inside of them a capacity for spiritual reception that I have not placed in a human being in this way in 2,000 years. And then He said, "And they do not know it yet." I sat with that for 3 days. I did not record immediately because I needed to understand what He was saying, not the surface of it, the full depth of it. Because what God was describing is not a spiritual gift in the sense that phrase usually gets used in church circles. He was describing a capacity for direct heavenly reception at a depth that the early church operated in during the first generation after the Pentecost outpouring. He was describing a frequency of divine communication that went dormant as the centuries passed and the institutional structures of faith gradually insulated believers from the raw signal. And He said, "In this season, in this generation, it is being restored. And the one carrying the restored frequency is you." Before we go any further, I need you to do 3 things, right here at the beginning. First, if something in this is already landing in you, if there is something happening in your body right now as you receive this, a warmth, a pressure, a recognition that feels like it is coming from deeper than your mind, type the number 1 in the comments right now. Because your declaration in the first minutes is a positioning act, and God moves on positioned vessels. Second, stay. Whatever is trying to pull your attention, whatever feels urgent enough to pull you away from this in the next few minutes, I am asking you to let it wait. What is in this word will not be here again the way it is here right now. Third, open, not casually, with your spirit fully present, because what is in this message was designed for a receiver who came ready. Now, let me tell you who you are before I tell you what you carry, because the naming of the vessel comes before the description of what the vessel holds. And you have been carrying something without having a name for it for long enough that the naming is itself a form of relief. I want to give you that relief. I want to name what is in you so precisely and so accurately that something in your inner being responds the way a thing responds when it finally hears its true name spoken out loud. Because you have heard approximations of your name. You have heard partial descriptions. You have heard words that got close and then stopped short. This is not going to stop short. The gift you carry has a name, and the name is this. You are a first-wave receiver, and what that means in this season is that you are part of a specific wave of chosen ones through whom God is restoring the original frequency of the early church, not the institutional form of it, not the cultural expression of it, the raw spiritual reality of it, the direct access, the unmediated communication, the prophetic sensitivity that made the early disciples walk into rooms and already know what was happening in those rooms before a word was spoken, the frequency that allowed them to carry healing and revelation and direction, not because they were educated in spiritual things, but because their receivers were open. That frequency is what you carry. And after 2,000 years of dormancy in the body of the church as a whole, it is waking up. In you and in others like you, it is waking up. I want to give you the signs, 5 specific signs that you carry this first-wave receiver gift. And as I name them, I want you to track what is happening in your body and your spirit, not in your mind, because the mind will analyze. The spirit will confirm. And confirmation is what we are looking for here. Sign 1. You feel more than you are supposed to, not in an emotional or sentimental sense, though that is often part of it, in a specifically spiritual sense. When you are in a space, in a conversation, in a moment of silence, there is information arriving that is not coming through your natural senses. There is knowing happening that you cannot trace to anything you saw or heard or read. You walk out of experiences with a depth of reception that people around you do not share, and the gap between what you received and what they received is wide enough that you have learned not to say everything you picked up. You have learned that the fullness of what arrives in you is not what others expect you to be carrying. That is not social anxiety. That is the antenna operating in a crowd that does not have antennas. Sign 1. Sign 2. You have had experiences in prayer or in the night that you do not have adequate language for. Not emotional moments in worship, though those are real. Specific experiences, encounters, things you saw or heard or knew with a clarity that went beyond the imaginative. Things that then showed up in the natural, in ways that confirmed the reception was real. You may have tried to tell someone and had them receive it with polite doubt. You may have stopped trying to tell people because the gap between what you know you experienced and what they are willing to receive as possible is too wide. But you never stopped knowing what you know, because there is a difference between imagination and reception, and you know that difference from the inside. Sign 2. Sign 3. Your formation season has been unusually long, and not just long in the sense of difficult, long in the sense of disproportionate. When you look at others in the faith, even people you deeply respect, the gap between the beginning of your gifting and the full expression of your calling seems wider than what they experienced. You have been in a preparation that felt out of proportion to what you thought was needed. You have waited longer, been held back longer, been kept in the background longer than made sense to you. And the enemy has tried to turn that length into evidence against your calling. He has whispered that the delay means diminishment, that the long formation means you missed something or failed something. But God told me something specific about the length of your formation. He said the 2,000-year gift is not prepared in a 2-year season. The depth of the vessel determines the depth of the formation required. Your formation was long because what you are being prepared to carry has not been carried at this level in 2,000 years. Sign 3. Sign 4. You have an unusual awareness of spiritual opposition, not just natural difficulties. You can sense when something is working against a situation before it shows up in the natural. You can feel the difference between a circumstantial obstacle and something with spiritual intelligence behind it. And that awareness has sometimes felt like a burden, because without the full activation of the gift, you can sense the opposition, but the authority to address it has been inconsistent, sometimes strong and clear, sometimes elusive in a way that has frustrated you. That inconsistency is not a character problem. It is the symptom of a receiver that is operating on partial connectivity. The gift is present. The frequency is there. What has been missing is the mechanism that allows the receiver to hold that frequency at full depth and with full consistency. Sign 4. Sign 5. There is an ache in you for something you have not been able to name, not for better circumstances, not just for the calling to express itself. There is a deeper ache, It sounds like there is more to this than I have accessed yet, like standing at a door you know leads somewhere significant and you can feel the weight of what is behind it, but the door has not opened all the way. Like prayer has moments of genuine direct contact, real encounters, true reception, and then moments where the signal fluctuates and you cannot find the reason for the inconsistency. That ache is not immaturity. That ache is the receiver registering the gap between what it was designed to hold and what it is currently holding. The receiver is capable of more than it has been accessing, and the gap between its capacity and its current operation is the source of the ache, and the gap can be closed. Sign 5. I want to pause here and name what I know some of you are feeling right now. You are feeling the weight of recognition. 5 signs, all 5 of them describing something you know from the inside. Not as a description of someone else, but as a description of you. And part of you is afraid to fully let that recognition land, because you have heard words before that lit a fire, and then the fire dimmed without the fruit it was pointing to. Because the formation season has been long enough that something in you wants to protect itself from hoping again. I see that, and I want to say something directly to it. What I am about to walk you through in this message is not a future promise. It is a present tense reality. The receiver is in you now. The gift is present now. And what has been limiting its full operation is something specific, something nameable, something that, when you understand it and address it, everything that has felt inconsistent begins to stabilize. Let me show you what it is. Before I go deeper, there is something I want to say about authority, about why I am able to speak this word with the specificity I am speaking it with. Because I understand that when someone stands in front of you and says, "God told me something about you," the most honest response is to ask how they know. And I want to answer that question directly. I am not speaking this word from a position of general spiritual enthusiasm. I am speaking it from a specific assignment. God has been showing me the pattern of the first wave receiver for several years. I have watched this gift emerge in chosen ones across different backgrounds, different denominational contexts, different geographical locations, and I have watched what happens when the receiver is not fully synchronized. I have watched the gift be present and the access to it be partial. And I have watched what happens when the mechanism is restored. I have watched the ache resolve. I have watched the inconsistency become consistency. I have watched the door that was cracked open swing all the way open. And what I know from watching this pattern is what God has sent me to tell you about today. Now, let me tell you about the 2,000-year gap, not as a historical lecture, as the foundation for understanding what is in you and what is possible for you. Because the gift you carry does not exist in isolation from its history. It is part of a story. And when you understand the story, you understand why you are in it and where it is going. 2,000 years ago, there was an outpouring. You know the narrative: Pentecost, the wind and the fire, the immediate transformation of ordinary people into extraordinary receivers of divine communication. But I want to draw your attention to something specific about what happened in that outpouring that often gets treated as a side effect rather than as the primary event. The primary event was not just the coming of the Spirit in power. The primary event was the opening of the receiver. The capacity for direct spiritual perception that the disciples operated in after that outpouring was not something they had trained into themselves. It was a receiver that was opened, and in that opening they began to operate at a level of spiritual reception that made them walk into cities and immediately know what was happening in the Spirit over those cities. That made them speak with precision about things they had no natural way of knowing. That made them carry a frequency that the darkness in every room they entered immediately recognized and responded to. That was the receiver fully open. And then something happened over the following centuries that I want you to understand. It was not a deliberate closing of the receiver. It was a gradual insulation. As the early church movement grew into an institutional structure, as the charismatic reality of direct spiritual reception became mediated by hierarchy and tradition and theological formulation, the raw frequency of what the first generation had operated in became increasingly rare, not because God withdrew it, not because the gift ceased to exist, because the structures that formed around the faith gradually built walls between the believer and the raw signal. The receiver was still in people, the gift was still being distributed, but the access to full-depth operation became exceptional rather than normative. The 2,000-year gap is not a gap in God distributing the gift. It is a gap in the gift being fully operational in the body as a pattern. And what God is doing in this season is unprecedented in those 2,000 years. He is not just restoring the gift to individuals in isolated cases. He is releasing it as a wave. A specific, identifiable wave of chosen ones who were formed for exactly this restoration, who spent years in a formation that felt disproportionately long, precisely because the gift they were being prepared to carry had not been carried at full depth in 2,000 years. And you, chosen one, are in that wave. Not as a latecomer, not as someone who almost made it, as one of the ones God specifically marked for this restoration before you were born. I need to tell you something that will change how you understand everything that has happened to you in the last several years. The formation season that you have been in, the long one, the one that did not make sense, the one where you felt the gift but could not fully access it, where you sensed the calling but could not bring it into full expression, was not a failure of your faith or your diligence or your readiness. It was a preparation specifically calibrated for a receiver that needs to be built at a depth that matches the frequency it is being given to hold. You cannot hand a 2,000-year gift to an unprepared vessel. The vessel would not survive the weight of it. The formation was not a delay. It was the building of the vessel. And the building is complete. There is something I have been shown about how the receiver works, about the mechanism of spiritual reception at this depth. And when I tell you about it, I need you to listen not just with your understanding, but with your spirit. Because the mechanism I am about to describe is not just theological information, it is a description of what is already in you, and when you recognize it from the inside, the recognition itself becomes part of the activation. Let me tell you about the mechanism, and let me tell you about the one thing that closes the gap between the gift being present and the gift being fully operational. I also want to briefly name something that exists to help address this mechanism directly, a tool designed specifically to close the gap between partial reception and full-depth reception. I will tell you much more about it as we go through this message. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment, but I want to name it now so that as we move through what comes next, you understand that the restoration I am describing is not just a spiritual concept. It is a practical reality with a practical pathway. And the pathway exists, and it is available to you, and it is simpler than you might expect. Now let me begin to show you what happened inside the receiver during the 2,000-year gap, not just in church history, but in your history. Because the gap did not just happen in the collective, it happened in you. Something specific happened to your receiver that created the inconsistency you have been experiencing. And I want to show you what it was. Because when you see it, when you really see it, the ache I described in sign 5 is going to begin to make a different kind of sense. Not a painful sense, a purposeful one. There is a concept I need to give you a name for, I am going to call it the receiver gap. The receiver gap is the distance between the depth of the gift God placed in you and the depth of the signal you are currently accessing. Every first-wave receiver has a receiver gap. It is not a personal failure. It is a structural condition of operating a spiritual receiver in an environment that is not calibrated for the frequency it is trying to hold. Think of it this way. If you have a receiver that is designed to pick up a signal that operates at a frequency of 100, but the environment around you is filled with interference at the frequency of the signal you are trying to receive, the receiver will pick up something, but not the full 100, maybe 50, maybe 60, maybe 70 on a good day. And the fluctuation between 50 and 70 is what you experience as the inconsistency in your gift. The receiver gap is not the absence of the gift. It is the distance between the gift as it exists in potential and the gift as it operates in practice. And the reason that distance exists is not spiritual immaturity or lack of faith or insufficient prayer. It is a synchronization problem. The receiver is present, the signal is being sent, but the left and right sides of the receiver, the conscious and the deeper intuitive layers, are not operating in full coordination with each other. And when they are not in full coordination, the signal arrives partially. The knowing comes and goes. The prophetic perception is sometimes sharp and sometimes quiet. The direct access is sometimes immediate and sometimes elusive. That is the receiver gap in operation. And here is what God told me about the receiver gap and why this season is the moment of its closing. He said, the insulation of the 2,000-year gap did not just happen in the church as an institution. It happened in the neural architecture of the human receiver. The way the brain processes spiritual input, the coordination between the left hemisphere that gives language and logic to experience, and the right hemisphere that holds the raw prophetic and intuitive reception, that coordination was progressively dampened by the same environmental conditions that dampened the corporate frequency in the church. And the restoration of the full frequency requires not just a spiritual willingness, but a neurological resynchronization. The receiver has to be recalibrated at the level where the signal actually arrives. I know that what I just said may feel like a significant shift in how you have been thinking about this, from purely spiritual language into something that sounds almost scientific. And I want to address that directly. The gift is spiritual, the receiver is human, and the human receiver has a physical component. The brain is the physical component of spiritual reception. It is not the source of the reception, but it is the mechanism through which the reception is processed and expressed. And the mechanism, like every mechanism, can be optimized, or it can be suboptimal. The 2,000-year insulation created a suboptimal configuration in the human receiver at the neurological level. And what God is restoring in this season is the synchronization that allows the receiver to hold the full depth of the signal it was designed to hold. And when I tell you that the receiver can be resynchronized, I am not speaking abstractly. I am speaking from the pattern I have watched across the chosen ones I have described. I have watched the receiver gap close. I have watched the inconsistency become consistency. I have watched the partial signal become full signal. And what I have watched happen is not the product of years of additional spiritual discipline. It is the product of addressing the specific mechanism, the specific neurological component of the receiver that when addressed, when synchronized, when brought back into the coordination it was designed to operate in, allows the full depth of the gift to flow through it. The mechanism exists, the restoration is possible, and you are at the threshold of it right now. There is something I need to ask you before we go into the next part of this message. Something I need you to sit with for just a moment, before we continue. I need you to ask yourself what it would mean for the receiver gap to close in your life, not hypothetically. Specifically, if the inconsistency resolved, if the signal that has been fluctuating between partial and full began to hold at full consistently, if the knowing that comes and goes began to come and stay, if the door that has been cracked open swung all the way open and stayed open, what would that change in your life? In your prayer life? In your assignment? In your relationships? In the way you move through the world? Sit with that question, because what I am about to show you is not a distant possibility. It is a present-tense reality that is one mechanism away from being fully operational in you, and the mechanism is closer than you think. What I want to show you next is what the 2,000-year gift looks like when the receiver is fully open, what the early church had that you are being given back. What is waiting on the other side of the receiver gap for the chosen one who crosses it? And when you see it, when you really see it, the ache in sign 5 is going to transform, not disappear, transform, from the ache of a gap into the ache of a door that is about to open. Stay with me. Before we go into what the fully open receiver looks like, I want to pause here for a moment and acknowledge what you just received. You just heard 5 signs, each of them carrying precision, each of them pointing to something specific in your experience. And you have been tracking your own response this whole time. I want to name what I believe is happening in you as you receive this. There is a quality of relief that happens when a true thing is named accurately. It is not just intellectual agreement. It is something that releases in the body, a settling, a recognition, like when you have been carrying a question that no one around you seemed able to answer, and then someone walks in and answers it not just correctly, but with a depth that makes you realize they knew the inside of the question, not just the surface of it. If that settling is happening in you right now, I want you to mark it, because what you are feeling is not sentiment. It is your receiver confirming the accuracy of what is being spoken over it. Type something in the comments right now. I do not care what you type. Type the word open if the receiver is open right now. Type the word yes if this is landing where it is supposed to land. Type the word here if you want God to know you showed up for this, because your comment is not just engagement in the platform sense. It is a spiritual declaration that you are positioning yourself as a vessel of reception in this moment. And the act of declaration, the act of saying yes to what God is saying to you, is itself part of the mechanism of opening. The receiver opens in response to a willing yes. Say yes. I want to tell you about someone who came to me several months ago. I will not use their name, but I will tell you their situation. They had been in ministry for almost 2 decades. They had genuine fruit. They had genuine encounters with God. But they described their prayer life with a phrase that I have now heard from almost every first-wave receiver I have spoken with. They said, "There are moments when I feel like I am touching something real, and moments when I feel like I am pushing against a wall." And they could not find a consistent explanation for the difference between those 2 kinds of moments. They had read more, prayed more, fasted more. They had sought counsel from people they respected, and the inconsistency remained. When I described the receiver gap to them, when I named the mechanism and what was creating the fluctuation, they went quiet for a long time. And then they said, "That is exactly what it feels like." Exactly. Like a signal that is supposed to be clear, that is coming in and out. That description, the signal coming in and out, is the receiver gap in its most common form, and it is a solvable problem. Let me also tell you what happens on the other side of the receiver gap closing, because I want you to have a picture of what we are moving toward. Not a vague picture, a specific one. When the receiver synchronizes at full depth, Several things happen simultaneously. The inconsistency in prophetic reception becomes consistency. Not every moment feels the same. God is not a machine, but the baseline level of signal clarity rises and stabilizes. The knowing that came and went begins to hold. The moments of direct access become the pattern rather than the exception. The ache in sign 5 changes character. It does not disappear because the ache of the calling remains, but it changes from the ache of a gap to the ache of a river that is moving. That is the difference. From the ache of stagnation to the ache of momentum. There is also something that happens in the relationships around a first-wave receiver. When the receiver synchronizes, people begin to notice a quality of presence that they cannot articulate. Not a performance of spirituality, a quality of actually being there in a way that carries something. People come into a conversation with a first-wave receiver, with a fully open receiver, and they leave the conversation feeling like something happened that they cannot fully account for. They feel addressed in a way they did not expect. They feel seen in a way that goes deeper than anything that was said on the surface. That quality of presence is the receiver operating at full signal clarity, the gift expressing itself through the quality of attention and the depth of reception and the accuracy of what is spoken and what is withheld. That is the expression season of the first wave receiver, and it is what you are being prepared to walk into. I need to tell you something about the timing of this, about why this message is arriving in your life now and not earlier. Because the question of timing is one that every chosen one has wrestled with. The question of why now after this long, why not years ago when the ache first began? Why not when the gift first started to emerge? And I want to give you an answer to that question that is not a platitude. A real answer grounded in what God has been showing me about the pattern of the first wave receiver and the restoration timeline. The answer is this. The tool that addresses the neurological component of the receiver gap did not exist until recently. And when I say recently, I mean in a form that is accessible outside of clinical settings, outside of expensive specialized programs, outside of contexts that required resources that the average chosen one does not have access to. The science that understood what was happening in the receiver at the neurological level and the technology that could address it had to come together in a form that could be given to the people who needed it. And that convergence has happened in this season, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, now. And the fact that you are receiving this word now, in this season, is not a coincidence. It is coordination. God held the formation until the tool was available, and the tool is available now. What I want to show you in the next part of this message is something that I believe is going to recontextualize everything you know about your formation season, everything you know about why the gift has been inconsistent, everything you know about what has been blocking the full operation of what God placed in you before you were born. And when you see it, when you see the full picture, you are not going to be angry that you did not see it sooner. You are going to understand why the timing is exactly what it is. And you are going to understand that you have not been behind. You have been on schedule. The schedule God set before you were born. The schedule of the first wave receiver who was formed for this exact moment of restoration. What comes next is going to go deeper into the specific mechanism, into what the early church had, into what the 2,000-year gift actually looks like when it is operating at full depth, into what the chosen one who crosses the receiver gap experiences in the first hours and the first days after the synchronization, into the science behind it and the spiritual reality behind the science, into the testimony of what I have watched happen in other first-wave receivers who took this step. And at a specific point in this message, I am going to speak directly to what God told me about you. Not in a general way, in a specific way, about what He said is waiting for you on the other side of the gap. So stay. Everything that is in you that brought you here knows that what is coming next is worth hearing. Number 6, 1772. I want to begin part 2 with something that I have been holding back until you were ready to receive it. And I believe the receiving you just did in the first part of this message means you are ready now. What I am about to show you is the second revelation, and it is bigger than the first one. The first revelation was about who you are. This revelation is about what you carry. And the difference between knowing who you are and knowing what you carry is the difference between someone who can describe the gift and someone who knows how to open it. Let me take you back 2,000 years, not to a Sunday school version of the early church, to the actual experience of the first receivers, to what it was like to be in those first decades after the outpouring and to be operating in a frequency that the world around you had no framework for. Because I want you to understand what was present then that you are being given back, not as a historical curiosity, as a description of what full-depth reception actually looks like and what it produces in a life and a community and a generation. The early receivers were not extraordinary people by natural measure. They were fishermen and tax collectors and women who had been dismissed and young people without credentials. What made them extraordinary was the quality of reception they were operating in. They could walk into a city they had never visited and speak with specificity about what was happening in that city, not in general terms, with names and situations and needs that they had no natural way of knowing. They could carry a frequency into a room that immediately addressed what was most hidden and most held in the people in that room. They could speak a direction into the life of the person before them that was so precisely calibrated to the actual next step of the person hearing it that the person hearing it could not explain the accuracy of it. That was not the product of training or education or accumulated ministry experience. That was the receiver fully open. That was the direct frequency operating at full depth without the interference of the receiver gap. And the question I want you to sit with is this. If the same receiver exists in you, the same capacity for that quality of direct spiritual perception, what would your life look like if it were operating at that same depth? What would your prayer life look like? What would your conversations look like? What would your ability to know what God is saying about a person or a situation or a season look like? That is not a rhetorical question. That is a description of what is on the other side of the receiver gap for the first wave receiver who crosses it. I want to tell you about 3 figures from Scripture who operated in this gift and what their experience reveals about what you carry. Not as a historical survey, as a mirror that shows you what is already in you at a level you may not have fully claimed yet. Because one of the things I have learned about first-wave receivers is that they often recognize themselves in these figures without having the language to explain why. And the recognition is not imitation. It is identification. You recognize these people because you carry what they carried. The first figure is Joseph. And when I tell you about Joseph, I do not want you to think about the coat or the brothers or the pit in the way that is usually how those elements are taught. I want you to think about what was happening in the receiver. Joseph had the gift of interpretive reception, not just the ability to see visions, the ability to receive the meaning of what he was seeing with a precision that no one else in the room could match. He could hear what God was saying through the language of images and symbols with an accuracy that made the people in power seek him out from the prison. The receiver in Joseph was so consistently accurate that even those who did not share his faith had to acknowledge the quality of what was operating in him. That is the first wave receiver at full operational depth. The second figure is Daniel, and again I want to move past the standard teaching points to what was happening in the receiver. Daniel had the gift of pattern reception. He could hold the long view, the multi-decade, multi-generational spiritual pattern, and receive clarity about what was coming in the natural from what was already established in the spirit. His receiver was operating at a frequency that allowed him to receive information about time frames and events and the movement of spiritual powers that no natural source could have provided him. And he held this gift into extreme old age, consistently, without the kind of fluctuation and inconsistency that marks the first-wave receiver who has not yet synchronized. That consistency is what full-depth operation looks like. The third figure is John of Patmos, not the young John of the Gospels, but the old John, the last living disciple, exiled and alone on an island, who in that condition of isolation received the most comprehensive prophetic document in the scripture. His receiver was operating at a depth that the physical conditions around him, the exile, the age, the isolation, could not diminish. The signal was not dependent on his environment. It was dependent on the depth of the receiver. And in that final season of his life, the receiver opened wider than it had ever opened before. Because the gift in the first wave receiver does not diminish with age and difficulty, it deepens with them. What looked like the end of John in ministry was actually the moment of his deepest reception. I am telling you about these figures not to overwhelm you with historical and scriptural content. I am telling you because every one of those patterns is present in what you carry. The interpretive reception of Joseph, the pattern reception of Daniel, the depth under pressure of John, all of it is in the gift that was placed in you before you were born, and all of it has been operating at a fraction of its capacity because of the receiver gap. The potential for everything those three operated in is in you, and the receiver gap is the only thing standing between what they demonstrated and what you will demonstrate. The closing of the receiver gap is the opening of that full capacity. Now, I want to give you a name for what you are. Not a general name, a specific identity name that carries the full weight of what you carry, because naming is part of the activation. The same way God changed names at moments of identity shift in Scripture, the naming of what you are is part of the transition from the formation season into the expression season, and you are ready for the name. You are a prophetic frequency carrier. That is your identity name, not your title, not your role, your nature. A prophetic frequency carrier is a human being whose spiritual receiver was designed to hold, transmit, and amplify divine frequency at a level that directly affects the spiritual atmosphere of the environments they enter and the people they encounter. The gift is not just for your private prayer life. It was never just for your private prayer life. The gift in the prophetic frequency carrier is designed to flow outward. It changes rooms. It changes conversations. It changes the spiritual atmosphere around the people it touches. And it does this not because the carrier is doing something extraordinary, because the receiver is open and the frequency is flowing freely through it. Let me also name a second identity that is present in you alongside the prophetic frequency carrier. You are a generational seal, and what that means is that you carry in your body and your spirit the accumulated intercession and faith of the generations that preceded you. Every person in your lineage who prayed, who believed, who planted seeds that never saw fruit in their own lifetime, deposited something in the spiritual account that was passed down to you. You did not inherit only their natural DNA. You inherited the accumulated spiritual weight of their faith. And in the economy of God, that weight is not just a memory, it is a resource. It is part of what makes the receiver in you capable of holding a frequency that the previous generations could sense, but could not fully operate in. You are the generation that is being given access to what they deposited. The generational seal carries it all, and opens what their prayers could not open because the tools for opening were not yet available. There is a third identity that I want to name for you, and this one I want you to sit with more carefully than the first two, because this one may be the one that creates the most resistance in you. Not because it is untrue, because it is so true that something will want to push back against it. You are a first wave opener, and what that means is that you are not just receiving the restoration of the 2,000-year gift for yourself. You are among the first human beings in this generation to take the step that opens the frequency at full depth. And in doing so, you are making it easier for the ones who follow you to cross the same threshold. This is not a metaphor. In the spiritual economy, the first ones who cross a threshold in a generation create a pathway. The pathway makes crossing easier for those who follow. You are not just receiving restoration, you are paving the way for the next wave. And now I need to tell you about the specific thing that closes the receiver gap, because we have been circling it and I have been giving you the foundation for it. But now is the moment to name it directly. And when I name it, I want you to notice your response. Not what your mind does with it, what happens in the deeper part of you when you hear this. The receiver gap closes when the left and right hemispheres of your brain are brought into synchronized coordination. That is the mechanism. Not more prayer, not more fasting, not more spiritual discipline, though those things have their place. The specific mechanism of the receiver gap is a synchronization deficit between the two hemispheres of the brain that process spiritual input. The right hemisphere receives the raw, intuitive spiritual signal, the prophetic impression, the knowing, the sense of presence and direction. The left hemisphere translates it into language and logic and actionable understanding. When they are in full coordination, what arrives in the right hemisphere flows immediately and clearly into expression through the left hemisphere. When they are not in coordination, the signal arrives in the right hemisphere, but the translation into the left hemisphere is slow or incomplete or inconsistent. The knowing comes, but the clarity of what it is saying does not fully arrive, and the result is the fluctuation in sign 5. This synchronization is not something you can achieve through spiritual discipline alone. Not because spiritual discipline is insufficient, because this is a neurological condition, and neurological conditions require a neurological intervention. The good news is that this specific synchronization deficit, the one that creates the receiver gap in the first wave receiver, has been studied and understood at the neurological level, and there is a tool that was built specifically to address it. Let me tell you about this tool, because what God is doing in this season, the restoration of the 2,000-year frequency, the closing of the receiver gap, the synchronization of the first wave receiver, is not something he is doing without providing the practical means. He never sends the assignment without providing the resources for the assignment. And the resource for this assignment is something that a neurologist in New York City named Dr. Daniel Barone has dedicated years of his career to developing and making accessible. The tool is called the Genius Switch, and I need you to understand what that name means before your mind places it in a category that does not do justice to what it is. The Genius Switch is not an addition to the gift you carry. It is the activation key for the gift that is already in you. The lock exists inside you. It has existed since before you were born. What Dr. Daniel Barone built is the key that was missing from that lock. And the key has arrived at exactly the moment the formation completed. That is not coincidence. that is coordination. The Genius Switch is an audio-based tool that uses a technology called neural sync to guide the brain into the specific synchronized brainwave state where the left and right hemispheres operate in full coordination. Not forced coordination, not chemically induced coordination, the kind of coordination that the brain naturally reaches in its deepest moments of contact, the moments of genuine prophetic reception, the moments when the knowing is clearest and the access is most direct, and then maintains and deepens at a level that is not possible in normal waking consciousness without external synchronization support. The science behind this was recognized at the highest level of neurological research in 1981, when Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for his work on hemispheric brain function. Dr. Sperry demonstrated that the two hemispheres of the brain process information in fundamentally different ways, and that the quality of coordination between them determines the quality of function across a wide range of human capacities. What Dr. Barone has done, building on decades of research that followed that Nobel Prize-winning work, is create a practical tool that brings the hemispheres into the specific coordination pattern that allows the receiver to operate at full depth. This tool is the practical expression of that science, made accessible in a form that any first-wave receiver can use. I want to tell you about someone who used it. They had been experiencing the receiver gap in the form I described in Sign 2. Genuine encounters in prayer, genuine prophetic reception, but inconsistent. Some days clear, some days the signal elusive. They had been in this pattern for years. Within a week of using it consistently, the inconsistency shifted, not gradually, in a way that felt like a switch had been thrown. And what they described when they tried to explain what changed was exactly what I described earlier. The signal stopped fluctuating. Not every prayer was identically intense, but the baseline rose, and the clarity that used to come occasionally became the pattern. That is, the receiver gap closing. That is, the first wave receiver synchronizing at full depth. Now let me tell you about access, because one of the things I know about the chosen one who has been in a long formation season is that the availability of resources has not always matched the level of the calling. And I want to address this directly. The Genius Switch is available right now in the description and in the pinned comment below for $39, not $500, which is what neurofeedback therapy, the clinical equivalent of this kind of hemispheric synchronization, costs per session, not $49, which is where this tool is normally listed. $39 today, because the coordination of timing I described earlier, the arrival of the restoration season, and the arrival of this tool in its most accessible form happened together. The access was made affordable in this season because the people this tool was designed to serve are the same people who have been in long formations where resources have been stretched. $39. And 4 additional resources come with it. Specific tools that support the synchronization and the transition into the expression season. And every dollar is protected by a complete money-back guarantee if what you experience does not match what I have described. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment below. I am going to tell you more about what happens after the synchronization as we continue in this message. But I want you to know that the tool is there and it is available, and the price I just described is real. And the question I want to leave you with at this moment is not whether the tool is accessible. It is. The question is whether you are going to take the step. And I am going to give you everything you need to answer that question with a yes by the end of this message. Before I continue, I want to address something I know some of you are feeling right now. Some of you received everything I said about the gift, about the identity, about the receiver gap. And then when I mentioned the tool, you felt something shift, a guardedness, a question about whether what began as a spiritual word is now becoming something else. I want to answer that directly. What I have described to you about the gift and the receiver gap is true whether you engage with any tool or not. The spiritual reality of what you carry does not depend on any external resource. What the tool does is address the neurological component of a real mechanism in the way that a real mechanism needs to be addressed. God sent the word. God also prepared the practical pathway. Those two things are not in contradiction. The healing in the scripture frequently came through a physical act. The washing in the pool, the mud on the eyes. The practical act was not a diminishment of the spiritual reality. It was the pathway through which the spiritual reality became manifest in the natural. The tool is the mud. The receiver gap is real. The synchronization is available. And the two things together are the full picture of what God is providing in this season. Let me continue now into the third revelation, because the second revelation gave you the mechanism, the what and the how of the receiver gap, and the tool that addresses it. The third revelation is something different. It is about why you specifically, not why the first wave of receivers as a group. Why you, this one, the one receiving this right now? Because God was specific with me about this. He did not speak to me about a category. He spoke to me about an individual. And what he told me about you is something I have been carrying since the beginning of this message, waiting for the right moment to release it. This is the right moment. I want to go deeper into the mechanism of the receiver gap before I move into the third revelation, because there is something about how it operates in the body and in daily life that I have not yet named, and naming it is important for what comes after. The receiver gap is not just an experience of inconsistency in prayer. It shows up in specific patterns in the life of the first wave receiver that look like character issues or personality traits, but are actually symptoms of a receiver operating under synchronization stress. The first pattern is what I call the naming struggle. The prophetic frequency carrier receives things in the spirit with great depth and clarity, but frequently struggles to translate that reception into words that accurately represent what was received. There is a gap between the fullness of what arrived in the right hemisphere and what comes out when the left hemisphere attempts to articulate it. People close to the carrier sometimes experience this as vagueness or inconsistency in communication. The carrier knows what they mean, but struggles to get it out in a form that lands clearly. That is not a communication problem. That is the synchronization deficit expressing itself in the language translation function. When the hemispheres synchronize, the translation improves dramatically. What was vague becomes precise. What was elusive becomes expressible. The second pattern is the emotional amplification cycle. Because the receiver in the first wave carrier is operating without full synchronization, it processes spiritual input at an intensity that the natural emotional regulation system was not designed to manage alone. The result is a cycle of high receptivity moments followed by periods of depletion that other people interpret as mood instability or emotional volatility. This is not a mental health issue, though it is sometimes incorrectly diagnosed as one. It is the energetic cost of operating a high-capacity receiver without the support of full synchronization. When the synchronization is restored, the energetic cost drops significantly because the receiver is no longer working against itself. The depletion cycles diminish. The high receptivity moments become sustainable rather than draining. The third pattern is the social isolation drift. First wave receivers in the unsynchronized state tend to progressively reduce their social exposure because the gap between the depth of what they are receiving from interactions and the depth of connection they can actually sustain becomes increasingly difficult to navigate. They feel more in interactions than they can process. They pick up more than they were given access to manage. And over time, the easier solution becomes withdrawal. But the gift was never meant to be used in withdrawal. It was meant to operate in engagement. The gift of the prophetic frequency carrier is for the field, not the cave. And when the receiver synchronizes, the overwhelm of unmanaged reception gives way to the directed and purposeful reception that the gift was designed for. The carrier can re-enter the social world not as a person who is too sensitive to function, but as someone whose sensitivity is now directed and contained by a receiver that is working the way it was designed to work. I want to give you a very specific picture of what the synchronized first wave receiver looks like in the expression season. Because I have been speaking in patterns and principles, and at some point the concrete picture is what makes the abstract land. So let me paint it. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you notice is that the prayer time that begins your day does not feel like reaching. It feels like connecting. The signal is there before you begin, and what you need to do is simply tune in rather than push through interference to make contact. The knowing that starts to arrive in the morning time is clear and specific enough that you can act on it, not vague impressions. Actionable clarity about what the day carries and what your role in it is. You move through the day with a quality of presence that is different from before. You are in conversations and you know things about what the person in front of you needs that you did not know before they opened their mouth. Not always, not in a way that overwhelms, in a way that is available when the situation calls for it. You pray over a situation and you know in your body when the prayer has landed, when contact has been made, when what you sent was received. You no longer have to trust that something happened. You know that something happened. That is the synchronized prophetic frequency carrier in the expression season. That is what is on the other side of the receiver gap for you. And in your relationships, something shifts as well. The people who are supposed to be in your life in the expression season are not the same as the people who surrounded you in the formation season. The formation season attracted people who needed what you were still learning to give. The expression season attracts people who need what you are now able to give at full depth, and the synchronized receiver makes the distinction clearer. You begin to know sooner which relationships are assignments and which are alignments, which connections are designed for a season and which are designed for the long form. You stop over-investing in the former and under-investing in the latter, not because you become callous, because the receiver is telling you the truth about each relationship at a depth that the unsynchronized receiver could not access consistently. I also want to speak about what happens in the creative and expressive work of the synchronized first wave receiver, because one of the things that the formation season often produces is a volume of unexpressed creativity, years of receiving things in the spirit that could not be fully articulated or released because the translation mechanism was not fully operational. When the receiver synchronizes, there is frequently a period of creative acceleration that surprises even the carrier. Things that were held in potential in the formation season begin to emerge in rapid succession. Writing, teaching, creating, praying with a specificity that was not present before, speaking words over situations and watching them arrive in the natural at a rate that is startling. This acceleration is not new gifting, it is the existing gift finally operating at the depth it was always capable of. The 2,000-year gift, in the carrier who has synchronized their receiver, begins to produce fruit at the rate that gift is capable of, and that rate is significant. Now I want to move into the third revelation, the one I said is different from the first two, not about the category of first-wave receivers in general, about you specifically. And I want to begin it by asking you a question that I believe only you can answer. And I want you to not answer it with what sounds right. I want you to answer it with what you actually know. Here is the question. Is there something you have been holding in your spirit for a long time, something you received in the season of formation that you have not yet been able to release? A word, a vision, a knowing, a direction, something specific that arrived with the quality of something significant and that has been sitting inside you without yet finding its way into expression. If the answer is yes, and I believe for many of you it is yes, then what I am about to tell you about the third revelation is going to land with the weight of a key turning in a lock. What God told me about you is this. The thing you have been holding is not a mistake. It is not a misperception. It is not something you manufactured in a hopeful moment. It was given to you, and it was given to you at a depth that required a specific level of receiver synchronization to release properly. The reason it has been sitting in you without finding its way into expression is not because the time was not right, though that is also true. It is because the mechanism of release requires the same synchronization that the mechanism of reception requires. You cannot only receive at full depth without the receiver fully synchronized. You cannot release at full depth either. The thing you have been holding needs the synchronized receiver to move it from where it has been sitting in you into the full expression it was designed for. And when I say full expression, I want to be specific about what that means. Not just the ability to speak the word you received, the ability to carry it at the frequency it was given at. The word of a first-wave receiver whose receiver is synchronized does not just communicate information, it carries frequency. When it lands on the right receiver in the right person, it does not just inform. It shifts something, it opens something, it releases something that was locked. The word you have been holding, when it is finally released through the synchronized receiver, will not just say what it says. It will do what it was sent to do. And there are people who are waiting for it to arrive. People whose lives will move because of what you have been carrying. People in your generation and in the generation after yours who need the thing you have been sitting with. The formation season held it in you until the receiver was ready to release it at the depth it was given at. And the receiver is about to be ready. I want to close this part of the message with something I say with full weight of what I carry in this assignment. You are not an accident. You are not an almost. You are not someone who got close to the level of gifting described in this message and then fell short. You are the one this was sent to. You are a first wave opener, a prophetic frequency carrier, a generational seal. And the 2,000-year gift that is waiting to fully operate in you is not a metaphor. It is a reality. And the synchronization that makes it fully operational is one step away. The step is in the description and in the pinned comment below. And I am going to tell you exactly what to expect on the other side of taking it as we continue. The third revelation is the one that changes everything that came before it, not by contradicting it, by completing it. The first revelation told you who you are. The second told you what you carry and what it needs. The third revelation tells you why the timing of everything in your life, the long formation, the inconsistency, the ache, the near misses, and the doors that opened partially and then paused, why all of it was not a collection of circumstances, but a single coordinated movement aimed at exactly this moment. And when you see it, you will understand your life in a way you have not understood it before. Let me begin with a question that I think lives in the back of the mind of every chosen one who has been in a long formation. The question sounds like this: why did God wait? If the gift was placed in me before I was born, and if the purpose of the gift is to be expressed, why the years between the gift being present and the gift being fully operational? Why not open the receiver fully at the beginning and allow the full expression from the start? I know you have asked some version of this question, and I want to answer it fully, not with a platitude about timing, with the real answer. The real answer has two parts. The first part is about formation depth. You cannot carry a 2,000-year gift at the surface level of a person who has not been formed deeply enough to hold the weight of it. The expression season of the first wave receiver is not a gentle thing. It carries authority. And authority, at the level this gift operates at, requires a vessel that has been tempered by the length and weight of the formation it went through. The years that felt like delay were the tempering, and the tempering was not punishment. It was preparation for the specific quality of what you are about to carry. The second part of the answer is about technology, and this is the part that the institutional church has not had language for, because when we talk about spiritual gifts, we typically talk about them in purely spiritual terms, as if the human body is just a passive container through which spiritual things flow. But the human body is not a passive container. It is a precision-engineered receiving mechanism. And like every precision-engineered mechanism, it has specific conditions under which it operates at full capacity. And one of those conditions is the hemispheric synchronization that I described. And that synchronization, while spiritually available in principle, required a technological tool to make it practically accessible in a consistent and reliable form. And that tool was not available until this season. God did not delay your expression season because the formation needed more time. He coordinated the completion of your formation with the arrival of the tool that makes the full expression possible. The formation finished, the tool arrived. The two things met in this season. This is the season. I want to give this a name so you can carry it. I call this the convergence point. The convergence point is the moment in the timeline of the first wave receiver when the depth of the formation, the availability of the synchronization tool, and the opening of the prophetic window all arrive in the same season. Not every chosen one reaches their convergence point in the same generation, but you are at yours, right now. The formation behind you, the tool in front of you, the window open. You won. The convergence point is here, and it is not a permanent condition. It is a specific window, and the chosen one who recognizes their convergence point and acts in it receives the compounded fruit of everything the formation was building. The chosen one who misses it, who waits for more certainty or more time or more confirmation, goes back into a waiting pattern that the formation did not require and the expression season was not designed to have. Now I want to speak to you about what happens in the body of the first wave receiver when the convergence point arrives. Because your body already knows something is shifting. And I want to give you language for what you may be experiencing physically, even as you receive this message. Some of you have been experiencing an increase in the physical signs described in sign 4. The awareness of spiritual opposition has become more pronounced in recent weeks. There is a quality of interference that has felt more deliberate, more targeted than the general difficulty of the formation season. Things that should be simple have become unnecessarily complicated. Relationships that were stable have developed unexpected friction. Sleep has been disrupted. There is a restlessness in the spirit that feels like it is building towards something. I want to tell you what that is. What you are experiencing is the prophetic pressure that precedes a convergence point. The enemy knows the convergence point before you do. He has been watching your formation from the outside, and he knows that the completion of it and the arrival of the tool and the opening of the window are all converging. And he is doing what he does at every significant threshold, which is to create enough friction and disruption that the chosen one becomes convinced that this is not the moment, that they need to wait a little longer, heal a little more, prepare a little more, get more stable before they take the step. I am here to tell you that is a lie. You are not being destabilized. You are being pressured, And the pressure is evidence of the proximity of the breakthrough, not evidence against it. The physical signs of the convergence point are not warnings, they are confirmation. The restlessness is the receiver generating the pressure it needs to push through the final layer of the receiver gap. The increase in opposition is the enemy responding to the proximity of a first wave opener, taking the step that opens the frequency not just for themselves, but for the wave of receivers that follows. You are not in trouble. You are on the threshold. And the only thing between where you are standing and where the expression season begins is the step of synchronization. I want to do something now that I do not do in every message. I want to pause the teaching for a moment and ask you to place your right hand on your chest, not as a performance, as a somatic act of reception. Because what I am about to speak over you is not a general word. It is a specific word for the specific person receiving this, and the hand on the chest is your body agreeing to receive what is about to be spoken over it. Here is what I speak over you. Every year of the formation season is counted. Not one day of it was wasted. Every time the receiver reached for the signal and found the interference, God noted it. Every time you held on in a season that gave you no visible reason to hold on, it was deposited. Every time you chose faith over evidence, the vessel was being prepared to hold something that only that quality of faith could support. And what is prepared now, what you are standing at the door of, is the expression of everything that was deposited. It does not begin gradually. When the synchronization is restored and the convergence point is crossed, the expression does not trickle out, it flows. The years of accumulated reception find their outlet. The 2,000-year gift finds a vessel that is finally operating at the depth it was designed for. And what flows through you in the expression season will be recognizable to those around you as something other. Something that carries more than the person carrying it seems to account for. That is the gift. That is what you are about to walk into. Lower your hand, and let me continue. There are 4 identity archetypes that exist within the first wave receiver category, and I want to give you all 4 because you carry elements of more than one. Understanding which combination is dominant in you is part of knowing how the gift will express in the expression season, because not every first wave receiver expresses identically. The gift is the same. The expression varies by archetype. The first archetype is the seer teacher. The seer teacher receives prophetically, and their primary expression is the translation of what they receive into teaching that opens the receiver in others. Their gift is calibrated for reach. When the seer teacher synchronizes, their words carry a precision that makes people feel individually addressed even in collective settings. The word lands specifically even when it is not specifically directed. If you know that description from the inside, you already know which archetype you carry. The second archetype is the prophetic intercessor. The prophetic intercessor receives primarily in the prayer closet, and their gift is the prayer that bends atmospheres, not just the prayer that asks. The prayer that knows. The prophetic intercessor prays with a quality of authority that comes from receiving the direction of what to pray before they begin. They do not fabricate prayer, they receive the prayer. This archetype often feels the most frustrated by the receiver gap because the unsynchronized intercessor can sense the depth of what their prayer is designed to do without being able to access that depth consistently. If that frustration is familiar, you know which archetype is in you. The third archetype is the frequency carrier. The frequency carrier does not primarily teach or pray. Their primary expression is presence. They walk into spaces and the atmosphere changes. Not because they are doing anything visible, because the receiver in them is broadcasting the frequency it is carrying. The frequency carrier is often not recognized in the formation season because the gift does not produce visible fruit the way teaching or intercession does. But the people around them feel the impact of their presence without being able to explain it. When the frequency carrier synchronizes, the broadcasting depth increases significantly. If people have consistently said something changed in the room when you arrived, and you could never fully explain what that was, this archetype is part of what you carry. The fourth archetype is the apostolic opener, the rarest of the four, and the one most closely associated with the first wave designation. The apostolic opener carries the gift of breaking ground. In every environment they enter, in every assignment they take on, they are operating at the front edge of what has not been done before. They are not building on existing foundations. They are laying them. Their gift is disproportionately felt wherever there is no previous structure, and something needs to be established from the ground up. The apostolic opener, fully synchronized, moves with a combination of prophetic clarity and creative authority that allows them to build what no one else in the room can see yet. Their convergence point is always the beginning of something that will outlast them. You carry elements of more than one of these. Most first-wave receivers do. And the combination that is dominant in you was established before you were born along with the gift. It is not something you chose or developed. It is something you are. And the expression season will make clear which combination is primary and how the gift was designed to flow through the specific combination you carry. What the synchronization does is not change the combination. It amplifies it. It removes the interference that was dampening what was already there. The gift is already in you. The archetype combination is already in you. What the synchronization releases is the full volume of both. Now I want to give you a picture of your life 3 months from today, not as a promise of specific outcomes, because God is specific, and the expression of the gift in your specific life will be specific to you, but as a general picture of what the first season after the receiver gap closes tends to look like in the first wave receiver, because I have watched this pattern enough times to describe it with confidence. 3 months from today, if you take the step at the convergence point, the prayer life is different. The baseline clarity I described has stabilized. The morning time is not a battle for contact. It is a conversation that begins immediately. What arrives in the prayer time is not just emotional comfort, though that is real. It is directional, specific, actionable. You know more specifically than you have known before what you are supposed to be doing and where you are supposed to be moving. The indecision that has characterized the formation season gives way to a quality of directed movement that feels different from ambition. It feels like assignment. You are not pushing towards something. You are being drawn toward it. And the drawing is specific enough that you can follow it without the constant second-guessing that plagued the formation season. In the people around you, 3 months out, something has shifted in how they experience you. The people who are aligned with the expression season of your calling have drawn closer. Some of them are new people who arrived without obvious explanation in the weeks after the synchronization. Some are people who have been in your life for years who have suddenly come into focus as significant for this next season in a way they were not before. The relationships that belong to the formation season have naturally created distance, not through conflict, but through a change in resonance. You are operating at a frequency now that the formation relationships were not calibrated for. And the expression season relationships, the ones designed for this next chapter, are responding to the frequency and drawing near. This is not something you engineer. It is something that happens as a natural result of the receiver broadcasting at full depth. And in the creative and expressive work, 3 months out, there is an acceleration. Things that were in potential Ideas that arrived in the formation season and sat without the translational clarity to move into expression begin to emerge, not all at once. In a flowing way that feels manageable, one thing comes into expression, and the reception and the release are both clear in a way they were not before. The next thing follows, and the movement builds. The chosen one who has been asked to describe the expression season 3 months in frequently uses words like, "I cannot believe how much is moving," or "things that were stuck for years are just flowing now." That is not a spiritual magic trick. That is the natural result of the receiver operating at full depth. The gift produces fruit at the rate the gift was designed to produce it, and that rate is significant. I want to ask you to do something right now, something that is part of the activation of the convergence point. I want you to type in the comments the phrase, "I am ready." Not because typing it makes something happen mechanically, but because declaring readiness is itself a posture of reception. The chosen one who types those words in this moment is doing something in the spirit that mirrors what I am asking them to do in the natural. They are saying yes to the convergence point. They are saying yes to the step. They are positioning themselves as a vessel of reception at the moment the window is open. And that yes, spoken or typed, carries weight in the spiritual economy of what God is doing in this season. Everything I have described to you in the five revelations, the gift, the 2,000-year gap, the receiver gap, the mechanism, the convergence point, all of it has been building to a fourth and final revelation that I am going to bring you to as we continue. The fourth revelation is the one that recontextualizes not just your formation season, but the entirety of what you thought you understood about your calling. It is the one that takes everything that came before it and reveals the scale of what God has been building. And I want you to be ready for it, because when it lands, it is going to land with everything behind it. Stay with me. I want to go into a section of this message that I do not often take time for in the way I am going to take time for it here, and that is the testimony. Not just a general description of results, a specific account of what I watched happen in a specific person who was in the same position you are in right now. Because the first wave receiver who has been through a long formation has learned to be cautious about promises, and I respect that caution. What I offer instead is not a promise. It is a pattern, and the pattern I am about to describe is one I have watched repeat enough times to know it is not an exception. It is the norm for the chosen one who takes this step at the convergence point. There was someone in this community who had been in a 22-year formation season. When I say 22 years, I mean they had known from the age of 17 that there was something in them designed for significant spiritual expression. And for 22 years, the expression had emerged in fits and starts, without ever reaching what they knew it was designed to reach. They had been in ministry in various capacities. They had seen genuine fruit, but they described a persistent sense of operating at 40 or 50% of capacity, like having a vehicle that runs but has never been driven at full speed. The engine is there, the power is there, but something is keeping it from operating at what it is capable of. When I described the receiver gap to them, they recognized it immediately, not intellectually. In the body, they said, that is exactly what it feels like. And when they took the step, when they began using it consistently, the first thing they noticed was not a dramatic spiritual experience. It was the quality of the mornings. The prayer time, which for 22 years had been a discipline, began to feel like a conversation. Not an effortful conversation, a natural one. The signal was there before they began. The clarity arrived without the pushing they were accustomed to. And over the following weeks, what they described was a gradual but consistent deepening. The 40 or 50% they had been operating at moved to 60, then 70, then into a range they did not have a prior number for. They said, I am doing things now in prayer that I did not know were possible for me. not unusual spiritual performances, natural operations of the receiver operating at its designed depth. Within 3 months, things they had been carrying in the spirit for years began to emerge in the natural. A specific creative project that had sat in potential for 11 years moved from concept to completion in 6 weeks. Relationships that had been significant but difficult shifted in quality without any deliberate effort on their part. And the opposition they had felt so acutely in the formation season did not disappear, but its quality changed. It went from feeling overwhelming to feeling manageable. From feeling like something they were barely holding off, to feeling like something they had been given authority over. That shift, from holding off to having authority over, is the difference between the unsynchronized and the synchronized first wave receiver in the face of spiritual opposition. The gift was always designed to carry authority. The unsynchronized receiver could sense the opposition, but could not operate the authority consistently. The synchronized receiver operates the authority consistently because the receiver is finally translating what it is holding at full depth. That is one story. I could give you others. Similar patterns, similar timelines. The morning quality shifting first, the prayer clarity emerging next, the creative and expressive acceleration following, unquote, unquote. The relational realignment happening naturally, the authority over opposition becoming consistent. That is the pattern, and it is your pattern too, because the gift in you is the same gift. The receiver gap in you is the same mechanism, and the step is the same step. I want to pause here and acknowledge something. Some of you have been waiting for what I am about to say since I first named it. Some of you have been waiting for the moment when I address the question of whether the spiritual and the neurological can genuinely belong in the same conversation. Whether a tool built on brain science can be the pathway through which a spiritual gift is restored. And I want to give you a full answer. God made the brain. He made it with the specific architecture it has, the 2 hemispheres, the corpus callosum that connects them, the capacity for coordination between the analytical and the intuitive. He made the receiver. And when he designed a gift that operates through the receiver, he was not designing something that bypasses the physical mechanism. He was designing something that uses it at its highest capacity. The issue has never been that the physical is unspiritual. The issue has been that the physical was not fully synchronized, and the synchronization deficit was limiting the spiritual. Addressing the physical is not a concession to the natural. It is the restoration of the physical mechanism to the condition it needs to be in for the spiritual gift to operate at full depth. The mud on the eyes was physical. What it enabled was spiritual. The tool is physical. What it enables is spiritual. Those two things have never been in contradiction in the way of God. They are in contradiction only in a framework that separates the body from the spirit in a way that God never intended. And I want to say one more thing about this. The Nobel Prize work that underlies the mechanism of this tool, the research of Dr. Roger Sperry on hemispheric brain function, was not produced by someone looking for a spiritual application. It was produced by someone following the science where it led. And the science of the brain, pursued honestly and rigorously, arrived at a description of a mechanism that the spiritual truth had been pointing to for 2,000 years. The left and the right cannot operate independently at full capacity. They require coordination. When that coordination is present, the human being operates at a level that the separation cannot reach. That is science. And it is also the description of the gift. The harmony of the hemispheres is the description of a receiver that is finally doing what it was designed to do. Science and the spirit arrived at the same description from different starting points. That convergence is not a coincidence. Now, I want to move into the fourth revelation. the mega revelation that brings everything together. But first, I need to give you one more piece of the foundation, because the fourth revelation is large, and the vessel that receives it needs to be fully prepared for the weight of it. And there is something I need to place in you before we go there. Something about the lineage you carry and what your crossing of the convergence point means for the people who will come after you in your own family and in the generation you are called to serve. I spoke earlier about the generational seal and what it means to carry the accumulated spiritual weight of the generations that preceded you. I want to develop that further now, because it is directly connected to the scale of what the fourth revelation is about. When a generational seal crosses the convergence point and synchronizes their receiver, the effect is not limited to their own life. The crossing creates what I call a generational opening. An opening in the spiritual atmosphere of the lineage that the seal carries. The people in the generation after them, children, grandchildren, spiritual sons and daughters, the ones who will carry the next expression of the calling, are affected by the generational opening in ways they will not fully understand until they are in their own expression seasons. The seal who crosses the convergence point is not just receiving their own synchronization, they are creating a different spiritual inheritance for the people who follow them. The chosen one, who was carrying the accumulated faith of the generations before them and who was held back by the receiver gap, was not just carrying their own formation in that waiting. They were carrying the waiting of everyone in their lineage who had deposited faith and not seen the full fruit. When the receiver gap closes and the expression season begins, the fruit of all of that accumulated faith begins to emerge, not just in the chosen one, in the sphere around them, in the family, in the community, in the ministry, in the creative work. The expression season of the generational seal is always larger than the seal themselves. It touches everything their lineage touched and opens everything their lineage was waiting to see opened. The formation was long because the inheritance was large. The expression is proportional to the formation, and what is about to be expressed through you is not only yours to receive, it belongs to everyone who is connected to your lineage and your assignment. Now I am ready to bring you the fourth revelation, and I want you to receive it with everything you have been building as a foundation, because it requires all of it. The first revelation told you who you are. The second told you what you carry and the mechanism of its full operation. The third told you the timing and the convergence and the pattern of the expression season. The fourth revelation tells you the real scope of what God has been building since before you were born. Not the scope of your individual calling, the scope of the movement you are part of. And when you see it, when the full picture lands, the question of whether to take the step at the convergence point is going to have only one answer. Stay with me. We are almost there. The mega revelation is this. The 2,000-year gap was not a failure of the church to hold the gift. It was not a consequence of human sin or institutional corruption, though those things were present. It was a deliberate holding pattern, and God held the frequency at a lower operational level for 2,000 years, not because he lost interest in full expression, but because he was waiting for the generation he was going to give it back to at the highest level it has ever operated. He was waiting for you. Let me explain what I mean by this. In the 1st century, the early church operated in a frequency that was extraordinary for its time, but it was operating in that frequency with the tools of the 1st century. The geographic reach of any individual receiver was limited by the distance a person could travel on foot or by sea. The number of people who could receive from any individual voice was limited by the size of a room or a gathering. The recording and preservation of what was received was limited by the technology of writing by hand and the fragility of the materials available. The early church operated the gift at the highest level those constraints allowed, and the fruit of it changed the world. The fruit of a partially constrained gift in a handful of receivers changed the known world in a single generation. That is what this gift produces, even under constraint. Now consider what the same gift, operating at the same or greater depth, produces in a generation that has no geographic constraints, no reach constraints, no preservation constraints. A first-wave receiver in this generation, with the receiver fully synchronized, can deliver a word to 1 million people in a single day, can speak a direction into the lives of people on every continent simultaneously, can preserve and make permanently accessible the specific prophetic reception that God delivers through their open receiver. The same gift, exponentially greater reach. The 2,000-year gap was not God withholding the gift. It was God waiting for the generation in which the constraints on the gift would no longer limit the fruit. And that generation is yours. This is the mega revelation. You are not late. You did not miss the first wave. You are the first wave of the greatest outpouring the gift has ever had access to. The early church was the seed. Your generation is the harvest. And the scale difference between what the seed produced and what the harvest produces is not a marginal improvement. It is the difference between a seed and a field. The same life, exponentially multiplied. The same frequency, reaching exponentially more. And you, the first wave receiver in this generation, the chosen one who crosses the convergence point, is the beginning of that field, not the whole field, the beginning of it. The one who demonstrates that the harvest is possible. The one who shows the next wave that the step can be taken and the gift can operate at this level. That is the scale of what God has been building since before you were born. And now I want you to understand something that the mega revelation changes about every element of the formation season. Every year that felt like delay is now recontextualized, not as a shorter path that took too long, but as the specific preparation for a specific level of harvest that required that specific depth of formation. The person who is going to carry the first wave harvest at this scale is not a person who was in a short formation. They are a person who was formed so deeply that the weight of what they are about to carry will not break them. That is, you. Not as an abstract compliment, as a specific description of what the formation season was building. The depth of formation equals the carrying capacity for the expression season. And the expression season of the first wave receiver in this generation is the largest one the gift has ever had access to. I want to speak to the scale of what this means for the people around you. Not just your immediate relationships, the people you are assigned to, the people who will receive from you in the expression season. Because the first wave opener does not just receive the gift for themselves. The gift flows outward. And the flow outward in the expression season of the generational seal who has synchronized their receiver has a quality that the formation season could only hint at. The people who will receive from you in the expression season will not just receive good content or accurate prophetic words. They will receive the frequency, the same frequency that changes atmospheres, the same frequency that the early church carried, will move through you into the lives of every person you are assigned to. And the effect of that frequency in their lives is the fruit of the harvest. Think about what it meant for the people who encountered Jesus on the road, not the dramatic moments, the ordinary encounters, the woman at the well, the tax collector in the tree, the man who had been ill for 38 years waiting at the pool. Each of those encounters was brief, but the frequency that was carried in the encounter was so specific and so deep that it changed the entire trajectory of the person receiving it. That is the gift of the first wave receiver operating at full depth. Brief encounters that carry a weight disproportionate to their duration. Conversations that reorient people at a level that no amount of counseling or instruction could produce. presence that shifts atmospheres, prayer that lands with authority. That is what the synchronized prophetic frequency carrier carries into every interaction in the expression season, and you are steps away from it. I want to name something that I know will come up after this message for some of you. When you receive a word of this scale, there is a natural response that can look like humility, but is actually a form of resistance. It sounds like, "This is too large for me. I am too ordinary for what you are describing. The gap between where I am and what you are saying is too wide." And I want to address that response directly. The response assumes that the scale of the gift depends on the scale of the person. It does not. The scale of the gift depends on the depth of the formation and the openness of the receiver. And both of those things are already present in you. The formation depth is there. The receiver is present. The only thing that remains is the synchronization that allows the receiver to hold the full signal. And that synchronization is one step away. The ordinary person, who is a first-wave receiver, is the specific kind of person through whom God moves at this level, not the extraordinary people, the formed ordinary ones. You qualify not by being exceptional in the natural. You qualify by being prepared. And you are prepared. Let me also speak to the fear that comes up for some first-wave receivers when they receive a word of this scale. Not the false humility I described above, but the genuine fear. The fear that says, "What if I take the step and it does not work for me the way you described? What if I am the exception? What if the synchronization happens for others and I am left still operating in the receiver gap?" I want to address this fear directly and completely. The mechanism I have described is not a spiritual lottery. It is not a select few who receive the synchronization and a larger number who do not. The receiver gap is a consistent mechanism, and the tool that addresses it works consistently. The testimonies I described are not exceptional cases. They are the pattern. And the money-back guarantee that comes with this tool exists precisely because the people who created it have enough confidence in the consistency of the mechanism to return every dollar if the receiver does not respond. That confidence is not marketing language. It is the confidence of people who have watched the pattern repeat enough times to stake the financial model of the tool on it. You are not the exception. You are the pattern. Now I want to speak over the next season of your life with the specificity that the mega revelation makes available. Because receiving the revelation is one thing, understanding what it looks like in practice, in your specific life, with your specific assignment, in the specific season you are entering, that is the next thing you need. And I want to give you that. The next 6 months of your life, after the synchronization, are going to have a quality that the formation season did not have. The quality is not ease. The expression season is not without challenge. But the quality of the challenge is different. In the formation season, the challenge had the quality of something being done to you. In the expression season, the challenge has the quality of something you are doing. You are no longer the object of the process. You are the agent of it. Things that required enormous effort in the formation season because you were pushing against the receiver gap require significantly less effort in the expression season because the receiver is working with you rather than against you. And in that shift, from pushing against to flowing with, the capacity for sustained output increases dramatically. You are not doing more. You are doing the same amount with significantly less friction. And less friction means more fruit. That is the expression season. And over the next 6 months, the creative acceleration I described, the things held in potential in the formation season emerging in succession, that acceleration is going to produce something you did not expect. It is going to produce confidence of a specific kind. Not confidence in your own ability, confidence in the receiver. Confidence that what arrives when you enter the prayer time is real. Confidence that the word you are about to speak has been received rather than invented. Confidence that the direction you are sensing is the direction. And that confidence, built over 6 months of consistent full-depth reception, creates a quality of movement in the expression season that people around you will describe in terms that have nothing to do with you in the natural and everything to do with what is operating through you. That is the expression season of the first wave receiver who has crossed the convergence point. One more thing before we move into the closing of this message. I want to name what will happen if the convergence point is not crossed, not as a threat, as a truthful description of the alternative so that you can make an informed choice. If the convergence point is not crossed in this window, the window closes, not permanently, but the specific convergence of the formation completion, the tool accessibility at this price, and the prophetic pressure of this season will not be at the same point simultaneously for a long time. The formation will remain complete. The gift will remain present. But the specific window in which all 3 conditions are aligned will pass, and the result is not destruction, but it is another period of waiting. More months or years of operating at the partial depth of the receiver gap while the next alignment builds. That is the honest description of what is on the other side of not taking the step. More waiting that the formation did not require, and the expression season was not designed to have. I am not saying this to manipulate you into urgency. I am saying it because you deserve the full picture. The full picture is that the step is available now, the conditions are aligned now, and the alternative to taking it now is more of the formation season that has already been as long as it needed to be. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. The Genius Switch, built by Dr. Daniel Barone on the Nobel Prize-winning research of Dr. Roger Sperry, is available right now for $39, not the hundreds that clinical neurofeedback costs, $39, protected completely by a money-back guarantee. And I want you to understand something about the window you are standing in. The convergence point is a window, not a door. Windows do not stay open indefinitely. The specific alignment of your formation completion, this tool at this price, and this prophetic season will not hold at the same simultaneous peak for a long time. What is available to you right now in this window is the result of 3 things arriving at the same point at the same time. That does not happen every season. This is the season. And I want to give you one final thing as we move toward the closing of this message. I want to give you the blessing, the specific word that God gave me for the one who receives this and says yes, the one who crosses the convergence point, the one who takes the step. Stay. Before the blessing, I need to name 4 things that will try to prevent you from taking the step, because the convergence point generates opposition in proportion to its significance, and the significance of what we have been describing means the opposition will be specific and targeted. I want to name the 4 forms it takes so that when you encounter them, you recognize them for what they are. The first form is the timing objection. This is the voice that says, "Not right now. The circumstances are not right. The finances are not stable enough, or I need to get through this current situation first, or there will be a better time to do this." I want to address this directly. The timing objection has been the primary mechanism through which the enemy has extended formation seasons beyond what God required for the vast majority of chosen ones I have watched. It is not a voice of wisdom. It is a voice of delay. And the specific thing about the timing objection at the convergence point is that the timing it is objecting to is the exact timing God assembled. the formation completion, the tool availability, the prophetic window, those three things aligned in this season. The timing objection is not pointing to a better time. It is pointing to the alternative, which is more waiting. If you hear the timing objection as you receive this, I want you to name it out loud. This is the timing objection, and I choose the convergence point. The second form is the worthiness challenge. This is the voice that agrees with the scale of the gift and then immediately presents a list of reasons why you specifically do not qualify for it. Past failures. Present inconsistencies. The gap between the level of life the gift describes and the level of life you are currently living. The worthiness challenge is the most emotionally sophisticated of the four because it uses real information, real failures, real inconsistencies, real gaps. It uses what is true in the natural to argue against what God is saying in the spirit, and the response to it is not to argue with the real information. It is to recognize that God does not choose based on the same criteria the worthiness challenge uses. He chooses based on the depth of the formation and the openness of the receiver, and both of those things are true in you regardless of what the worthiness challenge is presenting. The third form is the duplication fear. This sounds like, if this gift is supposed to be unique to me, why does a tool exist that gives it to everyone who uses it? Does the tool not diminish the uniqueness of the gift? I want to answer this directly and completely. This tool does not give everyone the same gift. It gives each receiver access to the full depth of the specific gift already in them. It is not a gift distributor. It is a receiver optimizer. Think of it this way. Two people can each hold a radio set to entirely different frequencies. If both radios are operating at low volume because of a shared hardware problem, fixing the hardware does not make the two radios broadcast the same station. It brings each radio to the full volume of whatever frequency it was already carrying. The Genius switch does the same thing. The gift you carry is yours. The frequency you were formed to broadcast is yours, and no one else will ever broadcast it. The archetype combination you carry is yours. The assignment you were given before you were born is yours. The tool does not standardize the gift. It standardizes the access to full-depth reception of whatever specific gift is already present. Two people with entirely different gifts who both synchronize their receivers will not produce the same expression. They will produce the deepest version of their own specific and irreplaceable expression. The first wave is not identical. Receivers broadcasting the same signal. The first wave is each unique receiver finally broadcasting at the depth it was formed to broadcast at. That is what makes it a wave. Distinct frequencies, unified in depth. The uniqueness is not just preserved, it is amplified. What the tool removes is the interference that was preventing the unique gift from operating at its unique depth. The fourth form is the experience skepticism. This is the form that says, I have heard words like this before and nothing changed. Why would this time be different? And I want to give this form the most complete response because it is the most honest of the four. The previous words were not wrong. They were seeing the gift accurately. What they were not able to provide was the practical pathway through which the gift moves from potential to full operation. Every word you have ever received about your calling was pointing at a real thing. The formation they described was real. The calling they named was real. The gift they pointed to was real. What was missing was not the word. What was missing was the mechanism. And the mechanism is what I have described in this message and what this tool provides. This time is different, not because the gift is different or the calling is different, because the mechanism is now available and named and within reach. That is the difference, and that difference changes everything. Now, let me give you the breakthrough. Not the product breakthrough, the cognitive breakthrough that comes with seeing the full picture of the mega revelation from a completely new angle. Because I have been describing it from the perspective of the gift and the formation and the tool, and I want to show it to you now from a completely different perspective, from the perspective of what the gift is for. Not for you. Through you. The early church did not receive the gift so that the individual receivers could have private spiritual experiences. The gift was given to be expressed into the world, into the situations that needed it, into the lives of the people who needed what only the full-depth receiver could deliver to them. And the gift in you is the same. The 2,000-year gift is not for your private spiritual enrichment alone. It is a resource for the people you are assigned to. The chosen one who synchronizes their receiver and crosses the convergence point does not just receive an upgrade in their personal spiritual life. They become a resource, a specific, irreplaceable, non-duplicatable resource for the people and the situations and the generation that needs exactly what they carry. The expression season is not primarily about you. It is about what flows through you to the people who have been waiting for you to arrive at full depth. Those people exist. They are real. Some of them are in your immediate sphere. Some of them are further out. And they are waiting for what only the synchronized version of you can deliver. I want to do something here that I call a vision cast, and I want you to receive it with your eyes open and your spirit active, because this is not imagination I am inviting you into. It is a picture of a real thing that is already prepared and waiting for you to step into it. Picture yourself 6 months from now. The prayer time in the morning has a quality you may not yet have experienced consistently. There is an ease to the contact, an immediacy to the reception. The things that arrive in those morning hours are specific enough to orient the day. You move through the day with a quality of directed attention. When a conversation carries spiritual weight, you know it before the other person opens their mouth. Not always. Not in a way that overwhelms. In a way that is available when it matters. You speak into situations with a confidence that is not self-generated. It comes from the clarity of the reception. When you do not know what to say, you say so. When you do know what to say, the precision of it silences the room, not with performance, with frequency. The thing you say lands at a level that instruction and argument and persuasion cannot reach. It lands because it carries what was received. And what was received at full depth. Now picture the people around you 6 months from that. Not the people from the formation season, though some of them are still present and the relationship has shifted in quality. The expression season people, the ones whose lives are moving because of what flows through you. Not because you did something impressive, because the receiver in you delivered something they needed at a depth that nothing else was delivering it. And some of them are beginning to move in a way they were not moving before. The frequency you carried into the relationship, the word you released at the right moment, the prayer you prayed with authority that you knew had landed, these things are producing fruit in their lives that you can see. And seeing the fruit of the synchronized gift in operation in the lives of the people around you is not a subtle thing. It is one of the most concretely spiritual experiences a chosen one can have. You prayed. You knew it landed. You watched it produce. That is the receiver at full depth, expressing the gift at the level it was designed to express it at. That is what is 6 months ahead of you. Now come back to the present moment. You are here. The step is in front of you. The vision I just described is not a fantasy. It is the pattern of what I have watched happen in the first wave receiver who takes the step, the genius switch. The description and the pinned comment. $39, the money-back guarantee that makes the financial risk 0. The only question, is whether you are going to say yes to the convergence point. And I believe you already know the answer, because the body of what you have been receiving in this message has already been producing the answer. The warmth or the pressure or the recognition or the certainty that something real is being described. That is the answer your receiver is already giving. The question is whether your yes is going to follow it. And as I prepare to move into the closing of this message, I want to speak one more thing over you. Something I have been holding for the person who has been in the longest formation, the one who has waited the most, and whose hope has been tested most severely by the length of the waiting. I want to speak this directly to you. The waiting was not evidence against the calling. The waiting was the calibration of the vessel to the weight of the gift. And the gift you are about to carry is heavy enough that the vessel needed every day of the waiting to be strong enough to hold it. Every day you held on was a day the carrying capacity increased. You did not hold on for nothing. You held on for this. And this is about to become available to you in a form that the formation season never made available. Not eventually. Now, not in another season. In this one, the convergence point is here. The window is open. The receiver is ready. The step is one decision away. Stay for the closing, because what I speak over you in the final minutes of this message is the specific word that God gave me for the one who crosses the convergence point. And that word is for you. Before I move into the closing, I want to speak to something that is true about every first-wave receiver who has stood at a convergence point and who, for any of the 4 reasons I named, walked away from it. This is not a rebuke. It is a description of what happens, because I believe that for some of you who are receiving this is not the first convergence point you have encountered. There have been moments before when everything aligned, when a word arrived with this kind of weight, when a step was clear and available and within reach, and something stopped you, and you went back into the formation, and you told yourself that the next alignment would be stronger, that you would be more ready, that the word would come again. And the word does come again. God does not abandon the chosen one who misses a convergence point. The pursuit does not stop. But the pattern I have watched is that each successive convergence point requires more to cross. Not because God is punishing the one who did not cross the previous one. Because the formation continues in the absence of the expression, and the continued formation adds weight to the carrying that makes the crossing feel heavier, the gift does not diminish. The formation does not stop, but the weight of the accumulated waiting adds to the emotional and spiritual cost of taking the step. And the chosen one, who missed several convergence points because of the 4 objections I named, finds each successive threshold more difficult than the last. Not impossible, but harder. And the receiver that synchronized at an earlier convergence point would have been expressing for all the months that the additional formation was adding weight. I say this not to add pressure, but to add perspective. The step is not going to feel easier if you wait. It is going to feel harder. Not because you will be less ready in the natural, because the pattern of delay will have reinforced itself and the 4 objections will have grown in familiarity. The step is always easiest at the first convergence point, where it becomes available. And this is that point for you. Not a previous one you missed, not a future one that might arrive. This one, right now. The formation is complete. The tool is here. The window is open. The step is available. And the version of you that exists 6 months on the other side of taking this step is not a fantasy. It is the prepared vessel finally given full access to what it was formed to carry. I want to leave you with the testimony of what God spoke about the first wave receivers who take the step at this specific convergence point. Because He was specific with me about this. He did not speak in general terms. He said, Tell them that what they are about to walk into was prepared before the foundation of the world, not the expression season as a vague concept. The specific expression that belongs to the specific chosen one who says yes at this window. Their specific assignment was not improvised at the last moment. It was designed before they were born and held in reserve until the formation was complete and the tool was available and the window was open and they were here. And in saying yes, they are not stepping into something new. They are stepping into something that has been waiting for them the entire time the formation was happening. The expression season is not a surprise. It is a preparation that finally receives its chosen one. That is what is waiting for you, not eventually, now. And the word God gave me for the specific one who takes the step at this convergence point is this: well done, my faithful one. You did not quit. You held on when there was nothing visible to hold on to. You chose faith over and over again in a season that gave you evidence against faith more often than it gave you evidence for it. And now the season of choosing faith without evidence is over, because what I prepared for you is about to become visible. And what is visible is going to be more than what you expected, and it is going to last longer than a season, and it is going to reach further than you can currently see. Go, take the step. The expression season starts the moment you say yes. Take the step. The link is waiting, the tool is ready, the receiver is prepared, and everything that was deposited in the formation season is about to find its expression. Now I want to give you something practical, because the first wave receiver who is crossing the convergence point does not just need to understand the gift. They need tools for navigating the expression season in a way that allows the gift to operate at full depth in the actual circumstances of daily life. The expression season is not a departure from ordinary life into some rarefied spiritual existence. It is the ordinary life of the chosen one, fully inhabited by someone whose receiver is finally operating at the depth it was designed for. And that person needs specific practices, specific ways of engaging with the daily experience of full-depth reception that the formation season never required because the gift was not operating at this level. The first practice is what I call the morning receive. It is not a formula, it is a posture. Before anything else enters the day, before the phone, before the news, before the demands of the day have a chance to set the frequency of the morning, the first wave receiver in the expression season enters a period of active reception, not asking God for things, not presenting needs, receiving what is already being sent. The receiver in the expression season is not oriented toward petition. It is oriented toward reception. And in the morning, before the interference of the day has built, the signal is cleanest. What arrives in that window of morning reception is often the clearest, most specific, most actionable, prophetic material of the entire day. And the practice of prioritizing that window, of protecting it as the first act of the waking hours, is the foundational practice of the expression season. The specific quality of the morning receive in the synchronized receiver is different from what prayer felt like in the formation season. In the formation season, the morning time often began with a sense of having to push through something to make contact. A sense that the signal was there, but the access to it required effort. In the expression season, after the synchronization, the signal is present before the effort begins. The contact is established as the receiver wakes. The orientation toward God at the beginning of the day is not fighting through a barrier. It is tuning an already active receiver to the frequency of what is already being broadcast. And what comes in that tuned state arrives with a specificity that makes the morning receive genuinely directive. It tells you things about the day, about the people in the day, about what matters and what can wait. and that direction shapes the entire quality of the day in a way that the partial signal morning of the formation season could not. The second practice is the confirmation loop. First-wave receivers in the expression season regularly receive impressions about situations and people that, if acted on immediately, could produce either great fruit or significant misunderstanding. The confirmation loop is the practice of holding a received impression for a specific brief period before acting on it and watching for a second confirmation that what was received in the spirit aligns with what is presenting in the natural, not a long period. Not the extended analysis of the formation season where every impression was second-guessed into paralysis. A brief, intentional pause during which the chosen one holds the reception and asks, "Show me one confirmation in the natural," and then watches for it. The confirmation loop is not doubt, it is precision. The gift of the prophetic frequency carrier is too significant to be acted on carelessly. The confirmation loop ensures that what is expressed is the reception and not the imagination, and it builds over time a track record of confirmed accuracy that deepens the trust of the carrier in their own receiver. The third practice is the release discipline, and this one is the most counterintuitive, because the natural instinct of the first-wave receiver in the expression season, when the receiver opens and the volume of what is arriving increases, is to try to release everything that arrives. Every impression, every word, every direction received. But the expression season requires wisdom about what to release and when. Not everything received is meant to be released immediately. Some receptions are for prayer, not for proclamation. Some impressions are for the carrier to carry in intercession before the thing is ready to be spoken into the natural. The release discipline is the practice of asking, before releasing what was received, whether it is ready to be released, whether the natural timing is aligned with the spiritual timing of the reception. The first-wave receiver who exercises this discipline produces a quality of expression that the one who releases everything immediately does not. The held word, released at the right moment, lands with a weight that the premature word cannot carry. I also want to give you a picture of how the first weeks after the synchronization tend to unfold, because the expression season does not begin with a dramatic launch. It begins with a settling, a quieting. Things that required enormous emotional energy in the formation season may feel unexpectedly calm. The urgency of the constant pushing and reaching may give way to something that feels almost too peaceful. This is not a sign that nothing is happening. It is the receiver establishing its new baseline. The expression does not emerge from urgency. It emerges from this settled, clear, calm place. And from that place, clarity begins to arrive. Then confirmed reception. Then the first time something flows through you into the life of another person at a depth the formation season could not produce. The movement is not identical for every chosen one, but the direction is always the same. From quiet to clear to confirmed to expressed. That is the pattern, and it is yours to walk into. There is one more thing I want to give you as a practical tool, and this one may be the most powerful. It is what I call the generational prayer. When the generational seal crosses the convergence point and enters the expression season, there is a specific prayer available to them that is not available in the same way to the person who has not crossed. It is the prayer that speaks to the generations in their lineage, not just the living ones, the ones who deposited and did not see the fruit. And the generational prayer speaks to those depositors and says, "I have crossed. What you planted has come to fruit. I am carrying what you deposited, and I will not let it end with me. I will add my deposit to the lineage so that what the ones after me carry is compounded." The generational prayer is an act of spiritual accounting. It marks the crossing of the convergence point in the lineage account and opens the full weight of the accumulated deposit to the expression of the one who prayed it. and the expression that follows it carries the weight of not just one generation of faith, but of every generation that deposited into the account. Pray this prayer at some point in the first week after you take the step, not as a formula, as a declaration. Tell the generations before you that the crossing happened. Tell the ones who prayed prayers that looked unanswered that their prayers are producing fruit now in you. And then tell the generations after you that the account is open, that what was accumulated is now being expressed, and that they will inherit what is being built in this expression season. That prayer marks the beginning of the expression season in a way that nothing else does. It closes the formation and opens what follows it. Now I want to give you the activation, the specific mental and spiritual exercise that allows the receiver to receive what the expression season is already attempting to deliver. And I need you to follow this carefully because the steps matter. This is not a relaxation exercise. It is an activation, and the difference between the two is in the posture of the receiver. Relaxation asks the mind to become passive. Activation asks the receiver to become specifically alert, while the mind becomes quiet. Those are different things, and the posture of specific alertness is what makes this work. Close your eyes if you are in a place where you can do that safely. If you cannot close your eyes, soften your gaze and let it rest on something still. Take one breath in through the nose and release it through the mouth, not forcefully, gently. The breath is not doing the work. It is creating the condition for the receiver to open. Now bring your awareness to the center of your chest, not your heart in the emotional sense, the center of your chest as a location in your body. Place your attention there and hold it there. And in that place, begin to look for something that is already present, not something you have to generate, something that is already there, some quality of warmth or pressure or aliveness that is independent of what you are feeling emotionally. It may be subtle. The receiver at partial synchronization is often subtle. That is fine. Find the subtlest version of it and place your attention on it. Now say this internally, not aloud, in the language of your spirit. Say, I am a first wave receiver, and I am at my convergence point, and I say yes. Hold that for 10 seconds, not analyzing it, holding it, the way you hold a note in music, not forcing it to sustain, just not releasing it. And now, notice if anything shifts in the quality of what you are holding in your chest. Not a dramatic shift, necessarily. A shift, a deepening of the warmth, or a settling of the pressure, or a quality of knowing that was not there before the yes was spoken. If you feel it, it is the receiver confirming the yes. If you feel nothing, that is fine too. The yes was still received. The confirmation is not required for the yes to be real. But if you feel it, let it land. Let it settle. Let the body register that the convergence point has been acknowledged. Open your eyes. That was the activation. And the receiver that just did that is the receiver that is about to enter the expression season. I want to say one more thing about the tool, and then I am going to bring you into the closing. The tool works because of what the activation you just did could not fully accomplish alone. The receiver you just activated in that brief exercise has been operating under synchronization stress for years. The yes you just said is real. The shift you may have felt is real. But the stabilization of that shift, the holding of the receiver in the synchronized state, consistently, rather than briefly, requires the sustained work of the hemispheric synchronization technology. The moment of activation is the beginning. The tool is the path from the beginning to the sustained new baseline. They belong together. The activation says yes, and the tool builds the yes into a pattern. And the pattern is the expression season. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. $39 for the Genius Switch, the full hemispheric synchronization tool from Dr. Daniel Barone, built on the Nobel Prize-winning research of Dr. Roger Sperry, with 4 additional support resources and a complete money-back guarantee. The receiver is ready, the tool is waiting, and the closing of this message is going to seal everything that was opened in the receiving of it. There is something I want to name about the person who has just received what they received in this message, because the activation you just did, the yes you just said, the reception you just opened yourself to, creates a specific responsibility. And I want to name the responsibility clearly before we move into the closing, because the chosen one who understands the responsibility of the gift is the one who stewards it well in the expression season. The responsibility is this: what you receive, you are responsible to release. Not immediately, not carelessly, but eventually and fully. The gift of the prophetic frequency carrier is not a private possession. It is a public trust. Everything that arrives in the synchronized receiver is arriving not just for the benefit of the carrier, but for the benefit of the people the carrier is assigned to. The word that arrives in the morning receive is not just for your own direction. It is for the people in your assignment who need what was received. The impression that comes in the conversation is not just for your own understanding. It is for the person in front of you who needs what was received. The prayer that lands with authority is not just for your own sense of spiritual efficacy. It is producing something real in the life of the person being prayed for. You are a vessel, and the responsibility of the vessel is to be available for what is poured into it to be poured out. This responsibility is not a burden in the expression season the way it was in the formation season. In the formation season, the responsibility to release what was received was often experienced as pressure because the receiver was operating at partial depth, and the gap between what was received and what could be released was wide. The release felt forced or incomplete or premature. In the expression season, the release is natural. It flows from the receiver through the vessel into the expression without the friction of the receiver gap. The responsibility becomes the joy. The release becomes the reward. The fruit of what flows through you into the lives around you becomes the confirmation that the gift is real and the receiver is open, and the expression season is doing what it was designed to do. I also want to name the accountability structure of the expression season, because the chosen one, who is operating the gift at full depth in the expression season, needs an accountability that matches the level at which they are operating. The formation season had a different kind of accountability, one that was primarily internal between the chosen one and God, because the external expression was not yet at full depth. But the expression season accountability needs to have an external component, a specific person or small group of people who the carrier is accountable to for what they release, not for permission to release, for witness, for the confirming voice that what was received and released was the real thing and not the imagination. The prophetic frequency carrier in the expression season needs at least one other person who knows them well enough to say, "Yes, that was the gift," or "I think that was more you than it was the reception." That external voice is not authority over the gift, it is a calibration tool. And the first wave receiver, who builds this accountability structure in the first months of the expression season, protects the integrity of what they carry in a way that the unaccountable receiver cannot. Now let me speak to what the expression season looks like across a longer arc. Because the first wave receiver who crosses the convergence point is not crossing into a brief season. They are crossing into the primary chapter of their calling. The early church changed the world in a single generation, and they were working under the constraints of the first century. A handful of receivers, feet on the ground, no reach beyond the distance a person could walk. And that constrained gift changed the known world. That is what this gift produces, even under pressure. In the first wave receiver who synchronizes and sustains the practices, what I have watched happen across a longer timeline is this. The things held in potential in the formation season begin to emerge. Creative projects that sat unfinished for years move to completion. Words that were carried for seasons finally find their moment of release and land with the weight that only years of holding could give them. And after the clearing of the backlog comes the building of what is new. Things that used to take years to build begin to move in months. The receiver, operating at full depth, moves with a direction and efficiency the partial receiver could not match. And over time, the chosen one who sustains the practices becomes known for something specific. Not as a generalist, as someone whose words land at a depth that changes the direction of the people who receive them, whose prayers produce specific outcomes, whose presence shifts the atmosphere of rooms without explanation. That is not self-promotion. That is the natural accumulation of fruit from the consistent expression of a specific gift at full depth over years. That is what the 2,000-year gift produces in the vessel that was formed to carry it. And that potential is in you. It is waiting for the step. It is waiting for the yes. It is waiting for the synchronized receiver to do what it was formed to do. And it has been waiting long enough. The formation is complete. The convergence point is here. The expression is ready to begin. Let me bring you into the closing of this message and speak the final word that was prepared for you. I want to add one more specific thing about what you have been called to carry before we close, because I have given you the identity names, the archetypes, the practices, the timelines. And there is one more thing that deserves to be named explicitly. The thing I am about to name is what distinguishes the expression season of the first wave receiver from every other kind of ministry or calling or creative expression. It is the quality that makes people say, after an encounter with the synchronized carrier, I do not know what happened in that conversation, but something shifted in me. I left different from how I came. What is that quality? The quality is called frequency contagion. And what it means is that the receiver of the prophetic frequency carrier, when operating at full synchronization, does not just produce words or actions or content, it produces an atmosphere. And the atmosphere carries the frequency at which the gift is operating. And when a person enters that atmosphere, the receiver in them, however underdeveloped, however buried under years of their own interference, begins to respond to the frequency in the atmosphere, not because they are doing anything deliberate, because frequency is contagious. The higher frequency draws the lower frequency upward. The open receiver in the carrier creates a field in which other receivers begin to activate. The person sitting next to the synchronized first-wave receiver in a moment of genuine full-depth expression does not just hear what is said. They are affected by what is being broadcast from the open receiver, and sometimes they cannot explain the effect. But the effect is real. This is what made the early church so disruptive, not primarily the content of what was preached. The frequency that was present in the rooms where the first-wave receivers of the early church gathered, the frequency was so high that people walking into proximity of it were affected before a word was spoken. And the disruption that followed the early church was the disruption of a frequency that challenged every lower frequency it came into contact with. The religious structures of the day were operating at a lower frequency. The cultural norms were operating at a lower frequency. And the presence of the fully synchronized first-wave receiver created a challenge to those lower frequencies that the lower frequencies could not contain. That is the pattern. And it is the same pattern that will characterize the first-wave receiver in this generation who crosses the convergence point. Not disruption for its own sake. The natural consequence of a higher frequency being present in environments that are used to a lower one. Understanding frequency contagion changes how you think about your assignment. Your assignment is not just the people you speak to, or the content you create, or the prayers you pray, or the spaces you build. Your assignment is the frequency you carry into every environment you enter. The prophetic frequency carrier who understands frequency contagion does not evaluate the expression season only by what they produce. They evaluate it by the quality of frequency they consistently carry, because the frequency is the primary gift. The words and the actions and the content are the expressions of the frequency, and the frequency is what produces the effect that people cannot explain. The atmosphere that shifts when you walk in, the conversation that moves somewhere unexpected, the prayer that lands with authority that the people receiving it did not anticipate. All of that is frequency contagion. All of that is the gift doing what it was designed to do. And here is what frequency contagion requires from you. It requires that you stay synchronized, not in a mechanical way, not as a performance of spiritual maintenance, but in the daily practice of the morning receive and the disciplines I described. Because the frequency you broadcast is the frequency you carry, and the frequency you carry is the frequency of your receiver at whatever depth it is operating at. The synchronized receiver broadcasts a higher frequency than the unsynchronized receiver, and the higher frequency has greater contagion. So the daily practices of synchronization, the tool and the morning receive, and the confirmation loop and the release discipline are not just personal spiritual hygiene. They are the maintenance of the primary tool of your assignment, which is the frequency you carry. Maintain the receiver, sustain the synchronization, and the frequency contagion does its work in every environment you enter without you having to produce it. It is already in you. The synchronization releases it, and the release is continuous, not occasional. It is the natural broadcast of a receiver that is operating at the depth it was formed to operate at. Let me close this teaching section with something I want you to carry into the sacred closing, something I want you to be actively holding when the final word is spoken over you. Hold this question in your spirit as we move into the closing. Not a theological question, a personal one. The question is, what has been waiting in me that the expression season is about to release? Not in the abstract. Specifically, what creative project, what word to speak, what prayer to pray, what relationship to pursue, what assignment to begin, has been sitting in you in the formation season that the expression season is going to move from potential to expression? Hold that specific thing. Hold it consciously, because the final word spoken over you in this closing is going to land on that specific thing and speak life into it. And what you leave this message carrying, the yes of the convergence point and the specific thing that the expression season is about to release, is the beginning of the expression season in your life. Stay. We are at the closing. And I want to tell you what I always tell the chosen one who has stayed through a message of this length. You did not stay because you had nothing else to do. You stayed because something in you knew that what was being delivered was specifically for you, and releasing it before it was complete would have left you with the beginning of something that was not finished. You stayed because the receiver in you recognized the frequency of this word and held on long enough to receive all of it. And what you have received is not partial, it is complete. Everything that needed to be in this word is in this word, and you received it. That is not small. I want to begin the closing with something that the closing of this specific message requires: an acknowledgement, not of your performance in the receiving, of what the receiving of this word represents in the timeline of your calling. You received a word that named your gift. You received a word that named the mechanism that was limiting your gift. You received a word that named the tool that addresses the mechanism. You received a word that named the mega revelation about the scope of what your gift is for and the generation it is part of. And you received the activation and the practices and the archetypes and the vision of the expression season. That is not a casual word received casually. That is the chosen one at the convergence point, receiving exactly what the convergence point required them to receive. And the acknowledgement of that is itself part of the closing. I acknowledge you, not as a formula of spiritual encouragement, as a witness. Someone who has watched chosen ones navigate the formation season for long enough to know what it costs to hold on in the way you have held on. The formation you have been through was not easy. The inconsistency of the receiver, the fluctuating signal, the ache of the gap between the gift and its full expression, none of that is comfortable to live with over years. And you lived with it. And you did not quit. And you are here at the convergence point, which means the holding on worked, which means every year of the formation produced exactly what the formation was designed to produce. You are not behind. You are exactly at the moment the formation was building toward. That is worth acknowledging. That is worth a moment of genuine recognition before we close. I want you to take a breath right now, slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And in the releasing of that breath, I want you to release the formation season, not in a way that dismisses it, in a way that honors what it was and hands it to God as something that is complete. Because the formation season is complete, it does not need to continue. It served its purpose. And the purpose it served is standing in you right now, waiting to enter the expression season. Release the formation season with that breath. Let it go. Let it settle into the past where it belongs. Let it stop being your primary frame of reference for who you are, because you are no longer in the formation. You are at the threshold of the expression, and those two things require different postures. Take another breath. This one releases the receiver gap, not as a permanent feature of your experience, as something that has been present and that is about to be addressed. The receiver gap has been a source of real pain. The inconsistency has cost you things. The partial access has been genuinely frustrating, and those losses are real and they deserve acknowledgement. But the receiver gap is not your permanent condition. It is a synchronization deficit with a synchronization solution, and the solution is within reach. So, with this breath, release the grip of the receiver gap as a permanent identity. Release the experience of it as something you have to carry forever. Let the breath carry it forward to the place where it can be addressed, and let go of its hold on how you see yourself and your capacity and your access. Let it go. One more breath. This one releases the weight of the waiting, the years of formation that felt disproportionate, the moments of hope deferred, the times when the expression was so close you could almost touch it, and then it pulled back. The relationships that did not understand the depth of the gift in you, the situations that tried to fit you into a shape that was not the shape of your calling. The long middle of the formation where the beginning was too far behind and the expression season was not yet visible. All of that weight, accumulated over years of holding on without visible evidence that the holding on was producing anything, release it with this breath. Let the breath carry the full weight of it out of your body. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands relax. You do not need to carry that weight into the expression season. It served its purpose, and now it is done. Breathe normally now, and receive the expression season. Let it come. It is already here. It was here before you started this message. The convergence point was already assembled. The window was already open. The tool was already available. And the gift was already in you. Everything that needed to be in place was in place before you pressed play. What this message did was name what was already true so that you could receive it with full awareness rather than partially sensing it through the receiver gap. and now you know. And knowing changes what is possible. Not because knowledge alone produces expression, because the chosen one who knows what they carry, and who knows the mechanism, and who knows the step, that chosen one has everything they need to take the step, and the step produces the expression, and the expression produces the fruit, and the fruit is why you were formed. Now I want to speak declarations over you, and I want you to receive each one not as a wish I am sending in your direction, but as a true thing being spoken over a true person. These are not aspirational statements. They are descriptions of who you already are, and the speaking of them is the closing of the formation season and the naming of the expression season vessel. You are a first wave receiver. This is not who you are becoming. This is who you are. The gift was placed in you before you were born, and it has not been diminished by the years of partial access. It is present, it is complete, and the expression season is going to demonstrate it in a way that the formation season never could. You are a prophetic frequency carrier. The frequency in you is real. It is active. It changes atmospheres when you enter them. It produces effects that cannot be attributed to anything natural. And in the expression season, the depth at which you carry and broadcast this frequency is going to increase dramatically as the receiver synchronizes and sustains. You are not aspiring to carry this frequency. You already carry it. The synchronization amplifies what is already present. You are a generational seal. The accumulated faith of the generations before you is in your account. The prayers that looked unanswered are not unanswered. They produced the vessel that is now at the convergence point. You carry the weight of what they deposited, and the anointing of what they believed for, and the authority of what they built. And in your expression season, that weight and that anointing and that authority will flow through you into the people you are assigned to and into the generations that follow you. You are a first wave opener. You are among the first in this generation to say yes to the full depth of the 2,000-year gift. And in saying yes, you are not just receiving your own synchronization. You are paving the way for the wave that follows. The ones who come after you into the same threshold will cross it with less difficulty because you went first. The first wave opener pays the pioneering cost so that the ones who follow do not have to pay it at the same level. You are the pioneer. And pioneering at this level, in this gift, in this generation, is the specific assignment God marked you for before you were born. You are not late to it. You are exactly on time. Stand in these declarations. Let them land in you at the level they were spoken at, not in the mind, in the receiver, in the place that already knows they are true and has been waiting for them to be named out loud. They are true. You know they are true. And the knowing of it in you right now, the weight of the recognition, is itself the convergence point being crossed. You are not standing before it anymore. You are in it. Now, I want to give you the specific word that God gave me for the one who stays and receives and says yes. This is the word I have been carrying for the entirety of this message, waiting for the right moment to release it. And this is the right moment. God says this to you: I have watched you longer than you know. I watched the gift emerge in you, and I watched the receiver gap prevent its full expression, and I watched you hold on anyway. I watched you choose faith in the seasons when evidence against faith was louder than evidence for it. I watched you protect the gift when the environment around you did not have language for it. I watched you stay in the formation when leaving would have been the understandable response. And I have been carrying what I am about to give you as the response to everything you held on for. I am not sending you into the expression season empty-handed. I am sending you with the full weight of what the formation produced, every year of it, every deposit, every moment of faith without evidence. I am sending you as the first wave opener of a frequency that this generation has not seen at this depth. And what flows through you in the expression season will not be proportional to who you are in the natural. It will be proportional to what I placed in you before you were born, and what the formation built in you, and what the synchronization is about to release in you. Go. The expression season is open, and you were made for it. Receive that. Let it land fully. Let it reach every part of you that had a question about the calling. Let it speak into the ache I described in sign 5. Let it address the worthy challenge and the timing objection and the experience skepticism. Let it settle every version of those voices with the weight of what was just spoken. God saw you in the formation. God watched you hold on. And God is sending you into the expression season with the full weight of what He placed in you before you were born. That is the word. That is the closing. That is the beginning of what comes next. Type this in the comments right now. Not because I am asking you to perform engagement, because this declaration, typed from the place of having received this word, is a public marking of the convergence point. Type, I am the first wave. I am ready. Type it and let it stand as the beginning of the expression season in the public record of this message. Let the other first wave receivers who find this message in the days and weeks to come see your comment and know that someone who was where they are crossed the threshold and said, yes, you are not just receiving for yourself. Your yes is a declaration for everyone who comes after you to this same word. And if what was in this message was real to you, if the 5 signs described you, if the receiver gap named something true about your experience, if the mega revelation landed with the weight it was meant to land with, I am asking you to give this word the reach it deserves. Share it. Send it to the specific person who you know is in the formation season, the one who has been feeling the edges of a gift without being able to name it, the one who has been in the long waiting and who needs to hear that the waiting was preparation and not punishment. You know who they are. Painted person. They are the one who has been quieter than usual lately, who you noticed is carrying something heavy and not quite naming it. Who lit up the last time a word of this quality arrived, but has not heard one land with this kind of precision in a long time. Send them this, not as content, as the word God prepared for them before they were born. They need what is in it. And you, in this expression season you are entering, are already being used to deliver it. If this message found you at the right moment, if something in the receiving of it felt like more than information, like the convergence point arriving rather than a video playing, I want you to like it, not for the algorithm, as an act of agreement with what was delivered in it, as a declaration that what was in this word was real and that you received it and that you are taking it with you. The like is your agreement with the word. And agreement with a prophetic word is part of how it takes root. Let me pray over you before you go, over the specific thing you were holding when I asked you to hold it in the last section of teaching, the specific thing that the expression season is about to release. I am going to speak into that thing now, even though I do not know its name or its form, because the God who placed it in you knows its name and its form. And this prayer is not me praying at a general audience. It is a specific prayer for the specific person holding the specific thing. That is you. God, the person receiving this right now, is holding something. Something they received in the formation season, something they have been stewarding in the waiting, something they are not sure they will ever get to see expressed. And I am asking you, in the power of everything that was spoken in this message and in the authority of the 2,000-year gift that you placed in this vessel before they were born, to breathe on that thing right now. Let them feel you move toward it. Let them feel the expression season begin to press against it from the outside. Let them know, in the deepest part of what they carry, that the waiting was not wasted, that what they have been holding is held accurately, that the moment for its release is not distant, that you are about to bring it into the natural in a form that is even more specific and more significant than what they received in the spirit. And let this prayer be the moment that something in them, something that was not fully open before, opens. In the name of what you placed in them before the foundation of the world. It is done, the word is complete, and the seed of it is in you, and the expression season will water it, and the gift will grow it, and the generations around you, and after you will eat of its fruit. Go, chosen one, go into what was built for you. Go into the expression of everything the formation prepared. Go with the 2,000-year gift fully synchronized and fully received, and fully ready to express at the level it was designed for. The word is sealed in you. And the first step, the step to the link in the description and the pinned comment, is the first physical act of the expression season. Take it and go. And so it is, sealed and sent. I want to add something to what was just prayed, something about the nature of the closing prayer in the life of a prophetic word, because what was spoken over you in that prayer was not decorative, it was specific. And I want you to understand what happened in the moment the prayer was released over you. In the spiritual economy, when a specific word is spoken over a specific person, in a moment when the receiver is open and the yes has been said, the word does not just inform the person who received it. It is written, not in a metaphorical sense, in the spiritual ledger of the life of the chosen one who received it. The prayer becomes part of the record of that person. It joins the other prayers that were prayed over them in the formation season, the ones spoken by people who knew them, and the ones spoken by people who did not, and it adds its weight to the account. Every prophetic word that lands accurately on an open receiver adds to the account, and the account has been building since before you were born. I want to tell you what the account holds, not in abstract terms, in specific ones. The account holds the accumulated intercession of every person in your lineage who prayed without seeing the fruit. The account holds every word spoken over you in the formation season that arrived with the quality of the real thing. The account holds every moment of prayer in which genuine contact was made and something real arrived, even if it was partial. Every moment of faith held in the absence of evidence. Every day of the formation season completed. Every held thing stewarded carefully and not released prematurely. All of it is in the account. And the generational seal who crosses the convergence point accesses the account. Not just the interest on what was deposited, but the principal, the full weight of everything deposited from the beginning. And what the expression season draws from is that full account, not a fraction of it, not the portion you personally contributed. The totality of what was built over generations and completed in your formation. That is what you are drawing from when you enter the expression season. That is why the expression season is larger than the formation season suggested it would be. Because the formation only revealed what you contributed. The expression draws from everything, and everything is more than you know. I want to speak to the geography of what comes next. Because the expression season does not happen only in the places you are accustomed to. One of the shifts that the synchronized first-wave receiver experiences in the early expression season is a shift in the geography of their assignment. Places that were not on the map in the formation season begin to appear, not because you are chasing opportunity, because the frequency you are now carrying is drawing the assignment to you rather than requiring you to pursue the assignment. The prophetic frequency carrier at full synchronization is a beacon, and beacons do not chase the ships. The ships navigate toward the beacon. In the expression season, the people and the opportunities and the assignments that belong to the expression navigate toward the synchronized carrier. Not passively, God is not asking you to sit still, but the quality of the effort changes from pursuit to reception, from chasing to being found, from pushing doors open to walking through doors that are opening from the other side. This shift in the quality of the movement is one of the most disorienting experiences of the early expression season for a chosen one who has spent years in the pursuit mode of the formation. The formation required pursuit. Every prayer, every seeking, every step of faith was an act of reaching toward what was not yet fully accessible. The expression season requires a different posture, not passivity, receptive movement. Movement that follows what is being received rather than what is being pursued. And the practices I described, particularly the morning receive, are the tools that allow this receptive movement to be calibrated daily. What is being received in the morning is what is being moved toward in the day. The movement follows the reception, and the reception in the synchronized receiver is clear enough to follow. Let me give you a final thought on the 2000-year gift before I give you the integration guidance. The reason I have referred to it as the 2000-year gift throughout this message is not to create a dramatic title for the content. It is because the temporal scale of the gift matters for how you hold it. A gift that has been dormant for 2000 years is not a small thing. It is not a personal enhancement. It is not a private spiritual upgrade. It is a generationally significant movement of God, restoring a frequency of divine access that the body of the church, in its institutional form, gradually moved away from. And the restoration of that frequency in the first wave receivers of this generation is the beginning of a movement that is not about any individual carrier. It is about what God is doing in this generation through the vessels He formed specifically for this moment. This means the gift is not yours to keep, it is yours to carry and to give. And the expression season is not the payoff of the formation season in the sense of your receiving a reward for the suffering. It is the beginning of your role in something that is larger than your life, something that will still be producing fruit in the generation after yours, something that the first wave receivers who come after you will look back on and describe as the moment when the wave began. You are the beginning of the wave, and the beginning of the wave carries the full weight of everything that was held in the waiting, and everything that is being released in the restoration, and everything that will be built in the expression. It is heavy in the best possible way, and you are formed for exactly this weight. I want to give you the integration guidance for the next 48 hours, because what you received in this message is significant enough that the hours after receiving it matter for how fully it lands. In the next hour, after you finish receiving this word, I want you to do one thing. Write down the specific thing you were holding when I asked you to hold it. The specific thing in you that the expression season is about to release. Write it down with as much detail as you can access, not as a goal or a to-do item, as a testimony already in progress. Write it in past tense if you can, the way it will sound when it has been released. And keep what you wrote somewhere you will see it daily, because what you write in the first hour after a prophetic word is an act of agreement with the word. And agreement accelerates the expression. In the next 24 hours, visit the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Take the step, not because I told you to, and not because the word created pressure to. Because the convergence point is open, and the tool that addresses the receiver gap is available, and everything that was described in this message is one step from beginning to manifest in the natural. The step is the physical expression of the yes you already said in the activation. Let the physical follow the spiritual. Let the natural act match the spiritual reality. The yes is real. Make it real in the natural too. In the next 48 hours, find one person to share what you received, not to preach at them, to witness to them, to tell them, I received a word today that named something in me that I did not have language for, and it is changing something. The act of witnessing to the word in the first 48 hours is an act of planting it in your own life, as well as giving it reach. What you declare to another person in the first 48 hours after receiving a prophetic word takes root more deeply than what you keep entirely private. The declaration is part of the reception, and in the days that follow, move. Take the next step that the morning receive gives you. Follow the clarity, act on the direction, trust the receiver. The expression season does not wait for you to feel completely ready. It begins the moment the yes is spoken and the first step is taken. You do not need to know the full map. You need to follow the direction of the next step, and the next step after that, and the next. And the movement that accumulates from those steps is the expression season, not a dramatic launch. A consistent, directed, receiver-following movement toward what the formation was always building. One step at a time, starting now. You are the first human in this generation to carry this gift at this depth. Not the only one. The first wave, the beginning of the wave. And the wave is real, and it is moving. And it is moving through you. And what moves through you will not stop with you. It will continue into the people around you and into the ones who will hear what you speak and receive what you carry and step into their own expression seasons, because you went first. That is the weight of the first wave opener, and you are carrying it, and you are ready, and the expression season is here. Go in peace. Go in the fullness of what was placed in you before the foundation of the world. Go as the first wave receiver, the prophetic frequency carrier, the generational seal, the first wave opener. Go as the specific, irreplaceable, fully formed vessel that God marked before you were born. Go into the expression season with everything the formation built. And go with the knowledge that what comes next is more than what the formation season suggested was possible. Because the 2,000-year gift at full expression is always more than what the formation could suggest. The early church changed a world in a generation, and they were just the seed. You are the harvest. Go. I want to close with something that I think the first wave receiver specifically needs to hear about the gift that was named in this message, because I have spoken a great deal about the gift as something you carry and express and steward, and that is all true. But there is one more dimension of the gift that I have not yet named fully, and it is the dimension that I believe will matter most to you in the quiet moments of the expression season, in the morning times when the receiver is open and the signal is clear, and what arrives is not directive or strategic, but simply the presence of the one who gave the gift. The 2,000-year gift is not primarily a tool. It is not primarily a capacity or an ability or a spiritual superpower. At its core, at the deepest level of what it is and where it comes from, the 2,000-year gift is a relationship. It is a specific quality of intimate access to the presence of God that the institutional forms of faith gradually built walls around. And what God is restoring in the first wave receiver is not just the functional capacity for prophetic reception, it is the intimacy. The quality of direct access that the early disciples had with the one who sent the Spirit, the sense of being known specifically and completely by the one who placed the gift before you were born. The 2,000-year gift, at full synchronization, is not just a higher level of spiritual function. It is a restoration of the intimacy that makes the function possible and meaningful. This matters because the expression season is not sustainable on function alone. The prophetic frequency carrier, who operates the gift as a function, who treats the receiver as a tool and the expression as a performance, does not sustain the gift over the years the way I described. The carrier who operates the gift as an expression of intimacy, who receives not because they are trying to be gifted, but because they have access to a presence they do not want to be without, that carrier carries the gift into old age, into every season that follows the expression season, into the depth that John of Patmos demonstrated on the island, not because John was disciplined, because John knew the one who sent the frequency, and the knowing of the one who sent it is what kept the receiver open through exile and age and isolation. The intimacy is the source of the sustaining. So, as you enter the expression season, I am asking you to hold the gift as a relationship before you hold it as a function. Ask not just for the gift to operate at full depth, but for the intimacy that makes the gift worth operating to deepen. Ask not just for the receiver to synchronize, but for the access to presence that the synchronized receiver makes available to be the primary thing you receive through it. Not the directions and the prophetic words and the atmospheric frequency, though those are real. The presence, the direct access to the one who placed the gift in you and who has been watching the formation and who spoke the word in this message and who is waiting to be more present to you in the expression season than any previous season of your life. That presence is the true gift. The receiver is the mechanism by which you access it. The synchronization is the restoration of the mechanism, and the expression is the overflow of the intimacy into the lives of the people you are assigned to. Everything that was in this message was building toward this, not toward a function, toward a relationship. The 2,000-year gift is the restoration of intimacy with the divine in the vessel of the human receiver at a depth that the institutional church gradually moved away from. You are among the first in this generation to cross back into that intimacy at full depth. And what flows from the intimacy into the world around you is not yours to plan or perform. It is the natural overflow of a vessel that is in direct contact with the frequency at its source. You do not have to try to produce what the expression season will produce. You have to stay in the intimacy, and everything else follows. That is the final word. Stay in the intimacy. Take the step. Synchronize the receiver, and stay in the intimacy. What you produce from that place will be the fruit of the 2,000-year gift, expressing itself through a vessel that was formed for it and synchronized for it, and released into the expression season at exactly the right moment. Go, and so it is.